Muulize na tuso.
How can we contact young lady mheshimiwa?
Which conman? Which conman?
Yaani uko na macho ine na uone.
Differently. Not have a special society. You know, so it has to start with us.
We still have a large number of people who doesn't know the rights of person with disability. We still have a large number of people who are not exposed. Parents and guardians, they are still hiding persons with disability.
Nimekuwa na challenge moja tu ya kumpeleka shule. Juu shule yenye ameitwa ni huko Kilimani. Ukimpeleka shule za huku unakuambia wataki mtoto haoni. Juu eti tukimweka huko kwa class ni kumpotezea wakati.
We want to get rid of those areas and the normal way people look at people with disabilities, the way they charge them.
Differently.
And indeed, as polling stations in various areas where the by-elections are happening are opening up here in Good Morning Kenya, we are just in time to keep you updated on the by-elections that are happening in various counties. We have several by-elections that are happening, including 6 by-elections for members of the National Assembly, 1 for the Senate, and 16 for the members of the County Assembly. Today, we are going to have a special coverage and analysis of the same and inform you of the event as they unfold. We have reporters on the ground to keep us updated and to let us know what is happening there in as far as the exercise of vote casting is concerned. My name is Mike. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. I'm not alone. Give us on. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you doing?
We're fine, thank you. Today is that day.
Yes.
It's the by-election.
Leo ni ile
siku. But by the look of things, we seem to be, the whole country seems to be so excited about today's election. And any person outside the country would think we're having actually a general election, which is not the case. It's only, a very few areas we're having the by-elections.
Yes.
You've mentioned about 5 parliamentary contest. Of course, there's 1 senatorial, and of course, several wards we're having the by-elections.
Yes.
So it's very few. It's something not very big as we'd like to put it. But by considering the way that Kenya has always taken politics and excited by the political, the political rhetoric across the country, Kenyans seems to be so excited and they like the politics. Yeah, so it's all hyped up.
Yes, you look at a by-election like the one that is being held today, and some of the areas that are taking up this exercise have come have had this, they have come at the front of scrutiny when it comes to how things are being done there in terms of how the campaigns have been done, and also the kind of candidates that are competing in that by-election. Look at the case of Mbeere North that has gained a lot of attention, probably because it is pitting the United Opposition and UDA, and that is one of the areas that we will be looking out for in the course of this program. Of course, some of the areas, if I may put some of the areas that are happening, that by-election is happening. We have Banisa constituency, Kasipul constituency, Magarini, Malava, Mbeere North, as I've said, Ugunja constituency, plus a host of other 16 wards that are seeking to elect their members of the county assembly. Of course, we have people on the ground. This means that everything that will be happening regarding this by-election, we will be bringing it to you live and let you know of the events as they unfold. Of course, as you have said, give us on, this is one by-election that has gained a lot of attention. Why, from your perspective, what do you think that is?
No, this looks like it's a do or die. And it has seized, for example, if we go to Mbeere North constituency,
yes,
we have nine contestants. You know, and the election has stopped. For example, the two the front runners, they seem to be the UDA candidate, that is Leonard Wamodende, and his close rival is Newton Kariuki,
yes,
of a Democratic Party of Kenya. And this has stopped, or rather has ceased to be a contest, or rather a battle between those two candidates. And now it's a battle between the opposition and the government side. And so it's so huge that it has stopped to become a contest between individuals,
yes,
and now it has become a contest between the government and the opposition side. And that's how it has been nationalized to, you know, from the parliamentary, or rather from Mbeere, to a Kenyan thing.
Yes.
And all Kenyans are following, Kenyans from Kisumu, Kenyans from the coast, Kenyans from Northeastern, Kenyans all the way from Turkana, you know, Kenyans across the whole country. They want to know what's happening in Mbeere, they want to know what is happening in Malava constituency, they want to know what is happening in Ugunja. Everybody is interested.
Yes.
As opposed to where maybe the constituents of that particular constituency would be the only people who are interested. Now it has, you know, it has gone a notch higher.
Yes, and indeed, you know, a place like Mbeere, and then you go to a place like Kasipul constituency, which now also has been on the media, and the race there is still, looks like it's going to be a very tight race, and we have candidates like Boyd Were of ODM, and there's also the Philip Nation Aroko, who is an independent candidate, also Robert Mani. Like, these are the front runners. And you remember, Boyd Were is the son of the late Ongondo Were, the late MP of Kasipul constituency. And now you look at ODM is supporting Boyd Were. Then you look at Philip Nation Aroko.
Yes.
He has received quite some support even from the deputy Governor Wanga's deputy, and that pits the deputy against the governor in terms of support of the candidates that are vying in the by-election within Kasipul constituency. But then again, give us on, let's circle back to a place like Mbeere North. This is within Mount Kenya region.
Yes.
We have the former deputy president and the current deputy president, who have been very involved in the campaigns within that area. This looks like a battle of the deputies.
You know, what happens in the political scene, there is the perception. And politics is all about the optics.
Yes.
And so, this, as you say, it's a battle between the opposition. For example, Rigathi Gachagua has been fighting to be the person, or to be the kingpin of the Mount Kenya region. And he wants to be seen to be in control of that particular influence, the political influence in Mount Kenya. And so what happens is, if, for example, I don't want to insinuate anything here, because the elections have just started, but if his candidate wins, of course, that is Newton Karis from the DP party. Then, if he wins, then he is portrayed as to have that kingship of the Mount Kenya region. And so Kenyans will say, of course, Rigathi Gachagua has proved himself to be the kingpin of the Mount Kenya region. And so, if on the other case, if this other candidate, Wamodende, wins, and the candidate of the ruling UDA party, if he wins, then they say, or Kenyans will say, it will be interpreted as President William Ruto still has the control over the influence, or the control over the Mount Kenya region politics. And that's how it's interpreted. And this is very important ahead of the 2027 elections, because you'll say, because I won the Mbeere North by-election seat, then I have the influence over the votes of the Mount Kenya region. And so, as we head to the by-election, to the general elections in 2027, I will have a head start. And for example, if Rigathi Gachagua, his candidate, takes over, then he'll say that I have the influence and I'll dictate as to the direction in which the Mount Kenya region votes goes ahead of the 27 election.
But then again, you look at the influence that you're talking about in any outcome that may be there, whether in Kasipul, whether in Mbeere North, whether in Magarini. But then again, focusing on Mbeere, for instance, just this is hypothetical. Let's say either of the candidate wins. But then again, what margin should one expect if in terms you have, if of course you have to earn what you would say, so to speak, bragging rights. A big margin has to be earned, because if, for instance, you win with a slim margin, then it means that some level of you do not have much of an influence in terms of the votes that you have garnered, and also that somebody can come at your turf and give you a run for your money. Is that something that one needs to think about in terms of the political influence one may want to have? But also looking at it from another perspective regarding IEBC, this is what you'd say a litmus test for the Ethecon team in as far as how they conduct this election is concerned, and the outcome of this by-election, from your perspective, Giverson, will it affect how they carry out the 2027 general polls?
Number one, even Migwe, you had yesterday the opposition leaders already accusing the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and this is just a new commission formed the other day. It hasn't lasted barely a year, and now they're having, as you rightly call it, this is a litmus test for them. It's for them, this is the chance for them to prove themselves that they're ready to hold the by-elections, or rather the general elections of 2027, and Kenyans are looking up to them now. Yes. And even the political class, the leaders, the civil societies, including with the media. We're now looking at the IEBC right on the eye to see how ready and how prepared and what capacity do they have in running the general elections of 2027, and determines on how they run these particular by-elections of today. And this is a very, very, very simple thing, because it's only a paltry of regions. It's only about 6 regions, and of course, as you said, about 10 or more than 10 the wards we are conducting the by-elections today. And so if they hold these by-elections today in the right manner, in the way Kenyans will be impressed, in the way the civil society, in the way everybody will be, impressed and pleased, then it means that they have the advantage, or rather they have a green, or rather they have the green light that to run the general elections of 2027. But if they flop today, and of course, if today there will be, there will be a lot of irregularities, and of course, a lot of maybe illegalities, and maybe chaos and violence, and and Kenyans think that the elections of today will not have been conducted in the right manner, then Kenyans will start doubting the whole IEBC thing. And it is still new. That is not what IEBC wants today, I'm very sure. But of course, I know they are trying as much as they can to make sure that they make a name for themselves starting today.
Indeed, that is very true. And looking at some of the things that have been captured on the front pages of local dailies, hour of reckoning, as many polls reality sings. That is what is being captured on the front page. They have the photos of the candidates here who are vying for various political seats, especially in Mbeere North and Malava. Because that is today's thing that will be happening. And I think as far as almost at 6:30. I think some of the polling stations, we will confirm from our reporters if they have been opened in time, if the voting materials have arrived on time, how the environment is, how the people are taking this exercise. That is one of the things that we shall be bringing to you, and also have an in-studio analysis of how the things will turn out, and some of the things that have been happening during the campaigning season. Maybe quickly we go through what is being reported on the front pages of our local dailies. Let me start you with the Star. Ruto's gift for Western, major highway works set to kick off. The 180 billion shillings project with 4 to 6 lanes is likely to shape the 2027 dynamics. That is what is captured on the front page of the Star. Hour of reckoning as many polls reality sinks in. That is the focus of today's Good Morning Kenya, and we shall be having in-studio analysis and political analysts talking about the events that have led, or the build-up up to today, about the elections and how the by-elections mean for the country by far. By-elections have brought out the worst of us. That is a story you can read on page 16 of the Star newspaper. Despite 2010 constitution, quote, civic space still constrained like Moise, end of quote. You can read that story on page 8 of the Star newspaper. Crowded field shapes up in high-stakes Kakamega governor race. Read that story on page 10 on the Star newspaper. Give us one.
Myself, I have the Standard, pardon me for that. And the Standard on you, the splash is 2027 dress rehearsal. And this is what I was telling you about. This is not about just the by-elections of today.
Yes.
It's more of the 2027 general poll. And they say choices and consequences. The country's 24 by-elections have morphed into a bruising proxy war between President Ruto and his estranged deputy Rigathi Gachagua, a battle for political survival disguised as a local contest. Every ward and a constituency has become a testing ground for 2027, with money, state machinery, and ethnic loyalties pulling in opposite directions. The outcomes could redraw alliances, unmask the depth of interference, and jolt the country's political architecture in ways that will echo far beyond these mini polls. And as this is another emerging issue that the Standard has highlighted, and they say the contest has become a testing ground for 2027 with money, state machinery, and ethnic loyalties. Something you note here is about state machinery, or let's rather talk about the money. You can imagine in these campaigns.
Yes, let me cut you short.
Okay.
Let me cut you short. I'm told where we need to connect with Wycliffe Okech, who is in Kasipul, to bring us up to speed with what is happening there in as far as the by-election there is concerned. Wycliffe Okech, if you bring us up to speed with what is happening, have the polling stations been opened in times? Are the voting materials there? How is the voter turnout in as far as this time is concerned? Wycliffe Okech, if you can hear me, bring us up to speed with what is happening over there in Kasipul.
Thank you so much, Mike. Back in Nairobi, Kasipul, it is the process of voting is underway already. I believe my colleague behind the lens can basically show you one of the streams here. This is Kasipul constituency. Where we are right now is Agorosare polling station, Agorosare primary, that is serving as one of the 142 polling stations that are being used for this exercise. The lines you're seeing on your screen right now, that is one of the 7 streams that are here being used for this exercise here at Agorosare polling station. This is an exercise that the residents of Kasipul have been waiting actually for the last 6 months when their member of parliament died in Nairobi. And for the last 6 months, they have been waiting for a moment like this, actually actually for them to take to the poll to elect their next member of parliament. That's going to serve them for the period remaining and up until 2027 general elections. There are 10 candidates contesting this particular seat. 4 of those candidates are contesting this seat on an independent ticket. 6 of them are sponsored by different political parties, including the Orange Party, the ODM, that are a party that is so dominant in this region. Remember, this by-election is coming on the backdrop of the death of the ODM party leader Raila Odinga. So this exercise is not just an opportunity for the locals here to take to the poll to elect their next representative in the National Assembly. This exercise is equally used as an acid test for the ODM party grip in this region here. This exercise is equally being used as a national, the national politics acid test, because remember, there is also the broad-based arrangement, political arrangement between the ruling UDA party and the ODM party. So will this exercise actually, will that exercise determine a bearing on the national politics? Because you know that the ODM party and the UDA party, they were mounting joint campaigns for the parties for the candidates that are falling between, within the bracket of the broad-based politics. Well, we're going to see that in a moment. But right now, let me just join one of the voters that has voted or rather cast his vote in this particular exercise. Ndogo, nikiweza kukuuliza tu hapo uweze kusimama hapa, utaongea Kiswahili Kizungu? Kiswahili. Tazamia pale, utueleze unaitwa nani, umeweza kufika hapa saa ngapi na hali iko vipi kwako?
Okay.
Wacha tu nitakushikia mic.
Kwa majina naitwa Stanley Utieno. Naishi hapo Ugis. Napiga kura hapa Agoro Sare Primary School. Tayari nishapiga kura yangu. Kila kitu iko sawa.
Uliingia hapa saa ngapi kwenye kituo?
Hapa niliingia hapa at 4. 4 nilipata hapa.
Maafisa wa polisi walikuruhusu kuingia hapa 4 and kulikuwa na watu wengine wakati huo?
Watu walikuwa tayari, watu walishakuja hapa, watu walikuwa wengi na maafisa pia walikuwa hapa.
Okay. Unapofika pale kwenye lango lile, when you enter into the gate, unalakiwa ama what's the guidance? Unaambiwa nini?
Kwa gate hakuna mtu, kwa gate unaingia tu, kishafika huku ndio unaambiwa mali unapiga kura.
Kwa hivyo hii process ni wazi kwako, hakuna changamoto yoyote?
Haiko sawa, nimeweka mkono wangu tayari, nimeweka nikapata jina langu nikapiga kura. Hakuna shida yote. Iko sawa.
Wajua ni zaidi ya miezi 6 amjakuwa na mbunge hapa. Kwa hivyo shughuli ya leo ina maana gani sana kwako kama mkazi wa eneo bunge la Kasipul?
Eneo ya leo tunataka tukue na MP wetu, juu tumekaa vile MP wetu alikufa, tumekaa bila MP. Sasa nataka tupige kura ndio tukue na MP, at least vitu zinaweza endelea vizuri.
Eneo hili haswa eneo bunge la Kasipul kumekuwa na visa vya upotovu wa usalama. Kuanzia tuseme jana na leo, umeona aje kuangalia na jinsi ambavyo tunaweza sema umeangalia hali ya usalama eneo hili? Jana na leo imekuwa vipi?
Kwanza jana niliona kama maofisa waliingia wengi kabisa kuliko vile tulikuwa tunapiga kura, lakini kwanza jana maofisa walikuja wengi kabisa na usalama iko sawa.
Na ujumbe wako kwa wapiga kura wengine ambao pengine hawajaweza kufika hapa, utaweza kuambia nini?
Naweza kuambia wakuja wapige kura kwa sababu hakuna kitu ngumu hapa, ni kuja na unaingia na unapiga kura. Hakuna shida yote. Iko tu sawa kabisa.
Jana tukizungumza na waziri wa usalama Kipchumba Murkomen akiwa ameandamana na mwenyekiti wa tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC ambaye pia ni Erastus Ethekon, wakasema kwamba unapopiga kura, ukishamaliza shughuli ya kupiga kura, ufike kule nyumbani na usubiri matokeo kule. Wewe ushapiga kura hapa, sasa maelekeo ni gani kwako?
Mimi nilishapiga kura hapa, naenda kwa kazi yangu, naenda kufanya kazi yangu na ngoja matangazo sasa itafika.
Ujumbe wako kwa wapiga kura wengine ambao pengine tayari washapiga kura na wangetaka kubakia hapa?
Hapana, mimi naona kama ushapiga kura, kama una kazi uende nyumbani ukangoje majibu matokeo. Juu mimi tayari nishapiga, naenda kufanya kazi yangu na ngoja natangazwa ndio tukue na hivyo.
amani ni kitu au amani na utulivu ni kitu ambayo imehimizwa sana na IEBC, chairman wa IEBC ni vile vile waziri wa usalama akasema kwamba amani na utulivu ni nyenzo ambazo zinafaa kutiliwa maanani sana. Wewe ujumbe wako kwa pengine wanasiasa ama wagombea ambao wanashiriki kwenye shughuli hii ni gani?
Hebu rudia tena.
Nauliza amani na utulivu. Waziri wa usalama jana akizungumza na sisi pia ule mwenyekiti wa IEBC akasema kwamba wapiga kura na vile vile wanasiasa wanafaa kudumisha amani na utulivu. Wewe uko na yapi kusema kuhusiana na hayo?
Mimi nasema amani ni kitu mzuri. Juu vile tulisikia aliongea, nataka tu watu wakuwe na amani juu vita inakuwa mingi na vita ni kitu kingine si mzuri. Ni kwa tu kama watu wanapiga kura na ukishamaliza tunaenda kwa kazi yetu. Ule mtu atatangazwa ndio atatuongoza, tutakuwa tu sawa naye. Yeah.
Asante sana. Thank you for creating time to participate in this exercise and also for speaking to us. You can proceed with your normal routine. Thank you so much. Mike and Giverson, that is just one of the residents that have found their time actually to come and participate in this particular exercise. As you've heard from him, the exercise here is very smooth. You enter into the gate. Of course, there are security officers by the gate that will guide you into the area of voting. Once you get here, there are streams. Once you get here, the polling clerks will guide you. They go by the prefix of your name. If your name starts with letter A, B, or C, they will direct you to the streams where you will cast your vote. The process is very smooth. Actually, let me just point out how this exercise runs. Once a voter enters into the gate, actually, they will be guided as to where they're supposed to vote. That, of course, they come with their ID or identification document. After that, the voters will be identified using the KIMS kit. Once that happens, they will be issued with the voters as actually IEBC voters a ballot paper. That ballot paper has to bear a stamp of the IEBC to make it valid. Actually, once that happens, they will be guided into a booth where they will secretly mark into that box. Once that happens, they cast that vote into the ballot box. Once that happens, actually there will be an indelible mark that is used, an indelible ink that is used to mark to show that now you voted, and that completes the process. Now the voter is expected to leave the station and go back home and wait for the result, which will be declared by the returning officer. In this case, the returning officer for Kasipul is Rebecca Abuaka, who is actually will be she is based at the Agorosare Secondary, that is, or at the high school, that is serving as the tallying center for this particular exercise. Although that will come at the tail end of this exercise later in the evening once voting ends, because remember the voting started at 6 and will go all the way up to 5 p.m. After that, the presiding officers and their DPO and their deputies will pick the ballot boxes that have been sealed and take them to the tallying center for collating and final tallying. And of course, after that, what we'll expect is a declaration of the winner of this particular race that has gathered actually 10 candidates, like I mentioned, 4 of them on independent ticket, but 6 of them have been sponsored by various political parties. And if I can just mention some of the candidates that are partaking in this exercise, we have Jesse Okello, that is vying to be the next member of parliament for Kasipul on an independent ticket. We've got Robert Ouko Ouma of the Labour Party of Kenya. We've got Isaac Kiche Abok vying on the Kenya Moja Movement Party ticket. We've got Rateng Okoth Kotiende vying on the United Progressive Alliance. We've got Ismail Omondi Koyo, the National Liberal Party, that is the sponsor party for that particular candidate. We've got Boyd Were Ongondo, that is being sponsored by the Orange Democratic Movement Party. And remember, that is the son of the late Charles Ongondo Were, who until his death was the member of parliament for Kasipul. We've got Robert Riaga Ajwang on an independent candidate Philip Nation Aroko, also an independent candidate. We've got only one lady in this particular race. That is Linda Aoko Ouma, independent actually. And also the last one is Collins Okeo, vying for this particular seat on the Movement for Democracy and Growth Party ticket. Well, 10 candidates. But if you look at the pattern of campaigns that we've had here for the last 2 months, this is a race that is being shaped by two particular candidates. We've got one, Boyd Were Ongondo, that is the son of the late Charles Ongondo Were, who was representing this particular constituency until his death back in April. He is vying on the ODM ticket, but he has a stiff competition from an independent candidate, that is Nation Aroko, Philip Nation Aroko, vying on this particular seat on an independent ticket. This particular exercise here in Kasipul is very critical, like I mentioned earlier. It is so interesting in the sense that we've got an ODM candidate. This region is majorly dominated by the Orange Party. The Orange Party has nominated, is sponsoring a candidate, and that candidate has been heavily campaigned for, especially those campaigns have been majorly led by the Homa Bay governor, that is Gladys Nyasuna-Wanga. She is the national ODM chair. But then again, it's so interesting in the sense that the deputy to Gladys Wanga, who is actually, that is Joseph Oyugi Magwanga, who also served as the member of parliament for this particular constituency for 10 years, that is between 2013 and 2022. The guy has chosen, the DG has chosen to throw his political weight behind another candidate other than the ODM candidate. That is so interesting because this is going to shape the gubernatorial race in 2027 for this particular county. And also, like I mentioned, this has a bearing on the going forward in terms of relationship between the ODM and the UDA going into the 2027 general election. So this is quite an exercise that is so interesting in the sense that it has a bearing on the county politics and also the national politics. We will be here to observe that and actually bring our viewers up to speed with the unfoldings here. But like I mentioned, the exercise is running smoothly. 7 streams here at the Kasipul, 7 streams here. This is a Gorosari polling station, and the exercise does so smoothly. We haven't had any security scare, but of course we will be getting in touch with the police commander for this particular sub-county, and we'll get to hear if any at all there is any security scare, though we haven't had any so far, because yesterday when the CS for Interior spoke to media, he said that there is a heavy deployment of police officers in this particular area, because remember, it is there at Kasipul where we've had the deaths of 2 people, that is during the campaigns, and that led to the IEBC imposing a fine on the 2 leading candidates for this particular race, a fine of 1 million each. And Murkomen said there will be heavy deployment officers in this region just to ensure that nobody tries to disrupt this particular exercise in whatever manner. Well, like I mentioned, the exercise is smooth, it's underway, and we expect it to go all the way until 5 in the evening when the exercise will close. We will be able to catch, or rather to bring you up to speed with every development, not just here at Agorosari, but we'll be able to move along at our other polling stations and see what goes on there. But for now, let me hand you back to studio for the so that we can look at what is happening in other areas.
Thanks, Wycliffe Okech, who is reporting live from Kasipul constituency, where voting is underway. And as you have seen, the voting process is going on smoothly, and the voting, polling station was opened by 6 a.m. and that exercise is underway, and we shall be bringing you more on this from that side. Of course, there are around, there are many polling stations. We are talking about 142 in that constituency, and we shall be bringing you up to speed with what is happening in Kasipul. Give us
Mike, before even we proceed further, I think Wycliffe Okech has painted a picture of a very well organized by-elections in Kasipul, very organized, the processes in the election you've seen, it's quite peaceful. That is the picture that we are able to see, at least for now. We don't know whether it will be sustained until at the end of that particular poll, but that's what we've seen so far. It's largely peaceful.
Yes.
It's very well organized. Even the voters seem to be very upright, and they know what they have come to do. You've seen even some have already voted.
Yes.
And now they are turning back home, and the lines are still very well.
Yes.
It's a very nice picture.
Yeah.
Until up to now. Yeah. Now, I don't know whether our very own Simon Achola in Ugunja is ready to give us any update from that particular constituency, the by-election in Sierra County, Ugunja. And this, Mike, the by-elections of Ugunja seem not to be very hyped as compared to the rest of Kasipul and Mbeere North. I don't know why.
But Mbeere in Ugunja is where the CS Energy, that is Opio Ndai, was representing before he was appointed to government. And the race there includes, it's a 10, the candidates there amount to 10. And I'm informed that Simon Achola is ready to bring up to speed with what is happening in Ugunja. Simon, if you can hear me, what's the latest from that side of the country, and how is the voting process, if it has started, going on? Simon?
Well, good morning, Mike Migu, and thank you very much indeed. We are in Ugunja constituency, of course, keeping an eye on what is happening here today. And of course, the cake, as you already alluded to, is about 60,114 registered voters. And that is what, of course, 10 contestants, as you've already said, will be gunning for. And each and every one of them, of course, will be hoping that they can get the largest share of the cake. Now, the constituency has about 116 polling stations across this constituency. And of course, where I'm standing now, I am standing at Ugunja Town Hall polling station, and this station has about 3 stations, of course, each and every one of it having about 500 registered voters, and in total it has about 1,502 registered voters. And as is usually the case with by-elections across the country, is that the excitement around it, unless of course it is highly contested, as you've rightly put it, in Kasipul, people tend to come in small bits, in drops, painfully slow drops, and we can actually wait for quite some time before, of course, we get to see the lines that we're actually accustomed to during elections in this country. As I speak to you right now, of course, we've just seen about a handful of registered voters who virtually just come here and cast their vote. They're not more than 10 since this polling station opened. This, of course, station opened at around 6 a.m. in the morning, as was scheduled. And, of course, we've been talking to presiding officer of this station, and he tells me that, of course, they're expecting that more and more of them will be coming in slowly. Of course, most of them are actually engaged in other activities, as usually the case before they actually eventually come here and vote. But as I've said, as is usually the case with by-elections, the numbers are not as high as you expect in a general election, of course, unless, of course, there's a high interest as one that is being, of course, seen in Malava and Kasipul constituencies. But, of course, here where we are at Ugunja Town Hall, of course, we're expecting that a number of contestants will be actually coming here to cast their vote. We're told this is where the immediate former member of National Assembly, Opio Ndai, casts his vote. We're expecting that anytime from now, probably he'll be finding his way to this place, so then he can actually participate in this exercise. We are also told that the ODM candidate, that is Moses, is also expected to cast his vote in Ligega. So that is another candidate that will actually also be keenly following. The other person that will be of interest to us is the only lady in this by-election. That is Lilian Akinyi, who is gunning for that seat on National Alliance Party. Will also be keenly following to get to see how she'll actually be going about that particular activity. But as I speak to you now, Mike Migwe, this exercise started as was scheduled yesterday. Yesterday when we spoke to the returning officer, Dennis Omari, he did indicate that there will be enough ample security in the polling stations, and he indicated that at least we'll be getting at least 2 police men in each and every polling station. That was witnessed yesterday, and today in the morning when we came here, they were actually standing guard from early in the morning just to ensure that everything goes as per plan. He also indicated that, of course, the polling stations will be opened at 6 a.m. in the morning. That has also happened. He also said that they will be doing bits and spot checks across all the 116 polling stations across the constituency, just to ensure that everything is in a top gear. So just to give you a feel of exactly what happens in a polling station, they have ensured that they have at least 3 streams. They used to be called the streams. Nowadays they're called stations. So what happens is that you come, and as per your alphabetical order, then you identify the station that you'll actually be going to. And this, in this particular polling station, we have 3 stations, each and every station having about 500 registered voters. This, of course, where we are at, this is the station 3 that has about 502 registered voters. We also have another one that has 500, and then the other one also has about 500 registered voters. Once you identify your station based on your alphabetical order, what happens next is that then you are directed by the clerks and who are actually here, and of course each and every activity is observed by the agents who are actually taken a strategic position. The picture that you're actually seeing on your screen now, and then what happens is that, of course, you're guided on how each and every activities will be undertaken, and then, of course, after you're done, there's the marking of that of your finger to indicate, little finger, just to indicate that indeed you have successfully completed the exercise before, of course, you walk out of the station. Dennis Omari, the returning officer, yesterday did ask locals here that when they will be coming to participate in this exercise, that they come quite early, participate in the exercise, and then leave the polling stations. As we know, what usually happens is that at times youths and just curious onlookers tend to mill around polling stations. They were discouraged yesterday by the returning officers and asked that to come early, cast their vote, and of course leave the polling stations, and so that then they allow those that actually want to participate in this exercise to do so. Remember also, today is also a weekday, and as is the case, locals, of course, are engaged in a number of activities. There are those that actually go to the market. There are those that actually tilling their farms. They're also engaged in other activities. Of course, that is also some of the contributory factors as to why, of course, some of the by-elections, of course, tend to witness slow, if I may put it that way, a streaming of voters who come into the station, and eventually, before we conclude the day, the returning officer Dennis Omari yesterday did indicate that, but given, of course, all factors remaining constant, that by around 8 p.m. this evening they'll start receiving ballot papers from different polling stations, and of course they will be going to Mbeere Boys High School. That is where the tallying will be done, and of course they will begin the exercise of collecting the results to ensure, verifying and of course collecting the results to ensure that indeed each and every exercise is done within what is expected, and of course thereafter it is expected that the winner over this contest, of course, will be announced. You can trust Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC Channel 1, to bring you first-hand information of exactly what will be happening here in Ugunja constituency. Of course, I will be there. We will be here with my colleagues from the digital department, and of course the radio department, and we'll be giving you first-hand update of exactly what will be happening from this end. My name is Achola Simon, and of course I take it back to Mike Migwi and give us on Maina in the studio, so that then of course they can give us details of other parts of the country.
Indeed, indeed. That is Simon Achola in Ugunja, bringing us up to speed with what is happening in Ugunja in as far as by-election is concerned, and seems like things are moving on smoothly and the voting exercise is already underway. And now I want us to cross over to Ben Troy Njoe, who is in Mbeere North, which is one of the hotly contested seats, given the appointment of the former MP of that place, that is CS Ruku, who was appointed to the cabinet, the CS for Public Service. That is where our reporter Ben Troy is in. Ben Troy, if you can hear me, you can bring us up to speed with what is happening at, in Mbeere North in as far as the by-election is concerned.
A very good morning, Giverson and Mike Migwe back in studio. Indeed, we are at Kanyuambora Primary School, one of the over 50 polling stations in Evurore Ward. And also remember, in Evurore Ward is the ward with the highest number of voters at about 26,000. The next one being Ndawa at about 18,800, and we have Momenje at about 9,000 voters. It's an interesting word, so to speak, because even the immediate former MCA is also vying for the seat as an MP. That is Duncan Mbowe, who is seeking the seat on a Chama cha Kazi party. But it is also interesting because two of Embu political heavyweights, I'm talking about former Attorney General Justin Muturi and former Embu Senator Lenny Kivuti, we are expecting them here any moment from now. Remember, this polling station was opened at about exactly 6 a.m. And as you can see from the lines and from the queues, is that the process is seamless. What you need to do is to have your voter's card and your ID. You get in. They are verified by the election officials, and after that you're given an opportunity to go and cast your ballot. And there's no milling around, as you can see. As soon as you complete your voting, you are expected to exit the polling station and wait for the results. Remember, after we are done with Kanyuambora Primary School, Kanyuambora polling station, we will be crossing over to Chicago, St. Bakita Chicago Girls, where it is the venue of all the vote tallying in all the 134 polling stations in Mbeere North. We're also expecting the UEA candidate, Leonard Wamudende, to be casting his ballot at the Chicago Social Hall at about 10 a.m. And of course, we also expect the CS, the former immediate former MP, that is Geoffrey Roko, to also be casting his ballot at about 9:10, and we will be making sure that we have those pictures live for you. We also expect Newton Karish. Remember, he is the immediate former MP for Momenje, from Minje Ward, which is one of the 3 wards in Mbeere North, and we will be crossing over to the other side. And it's a vast county, and it's a vast constituency, because bearing in mind we were on the other side of Evurore in Chicago. Now we are on this other side of Kanyuambora, which borders Kieni South Ward in Runyenje's constituency. But enough said, as you can see, the queues themselves are slowly but surely building up. And we hear that some voters were here as early as 5 a.m., such that as soon as 6 a.m. the polling stations were opened up, they started streaming in. And as you can see, from what you can see, they will be having a number, because around 100 or 200 have already voted as we speak, casting their ballot in one of the 3 classrooms that are here. And something else I will tell you, and I've noted with great concern, is the high level of security. We have seen in the campaigns that Embu County and Mbeere North, to be specific, has been one of the most highly charged political venues. And yesterday we did have a conversation with CS Ruko and also the Embu County Governor. They were raising some concerns in regards to matter security. But we also spoke to Sarah Koki, who happens to be the Embu County Police Commander, who assured the residents of Mbeere North and every voter and every resident that there will be enough peace here. And remember, after these polls in the evening, this when we will begin the vote tallying process at Chicago Girls. And after that, we are hoping that maybe by tomorrow in the morning we will be knowing who the winner is and the new Mbeere North MP. Remember, I'm looking at this constituency as being quite important, especially for UDA and the opposition. Reason being, we have seen UDA's candidates Leonard Wamodende being campaigned for or being assisted by the party UDA, and we have seen the United Opposition putting their weight behind the former MCA of Momenje, that is Newton Kariuki or Newton Karish, famous for Modoni Kifagio, if you remember back in the day. But enough said, we are expecting that the process will be seamless and peaceful, owing to the fact that IEBC CEO is here in Mbeere North, Hussein Marjan, and he has assured that indeed they are going to be conducting this election with the highest regard, bearing in mind that this is a litmus test, not only for the politicians, but also for IEBC. After the fully constituted IEBC, this is their first litmus test, if you ask me. And we are hoping that we're going to be having a winner by either the end of today or early tomorrow on Friday. But this is how things are looking up. We even have, if my colleague Innocent Kiaka can actually zoom out, we can see there are even election observers from various institutions. ILOG, we had a team from ILOG yesterday, that is the election observation group. And as you can see, there are also some other observers here from various institutions who are here to ensure that this election is flawless. And other than that, the security beefed up, people are still streaming in, not very huge queues. Everything has been okay so far. We're expecting the Embu political heavyweights to be voting any moment from now. Actually, we had been told that they will be here by about 6:30, but about 7 a.m., some minutes past 7 a.m. And we are hoping to also catch a glimpse, and also they also be telling there's exuding confidence whether their candidates will emerge victorious. But other than that, other than the issues that had been raised, including the high-charged politics and also the security issues, which have been adequately addressed by the Embu County Commander and security agencies, and even IEBC itself, then it's back to you in studio. And Ben Troy, coming to you from Kanyuambora Primary School. Unless you have any question.
Indeed, that is Ben Troy Njue in Mbeere North, specifically in Kanyuambora. Many thanks for bringing us up to speed with what is happening over there. Now, I want us to cross over to Magarini, where our reporter Kasichana Masha is on standby to bring us up to speed on okay, I'm told that she's not ready, but given the kind of reports that we've seen so far, the voting process seems to be going smoothly in the areas that we have highlighted, and that is what is going. The voting will continue up to 5 p.m. to allow for vote counting later on. But before then, we have people on the ground who are following up on what is happening in those areas. And Kasichana Masha is on standby in Magarini, as I had said, to bring us up to speed with what is happening over there. Kasichana, if you can hear me, what's the latest from Magarini?
So very good morning, and thank you so much, my colleague Giverson and the other who is at the broadcasting house this very beautiful morning. As you can see, the weather is calm, it's sunny. The sun is about to come out at this morning. At this moment, the voting exercise here in Magarini constituencies has already commenced. It commenced as early as 6 a.m. in this area. Residents really turned up and showed up just to exercise their democratic right. And where we are at currently, we are at Mjanaheri Primary School. This is one of the polling stations among among the 193 polling stations within Magarini constituency. As you all know, today the by-elections are taking place here, where the parliamentary elections are being conducted in this area, Magarini constituency being among the 6 parliamentary areas that had been scheduled to conduct this by-election following the nullification of the 2022 parliamentary elections in this area. So the seat in this area has remained vacant for the last, let's say, about 2 years now. And residents here have already turned up. As you can see, if my cameraman can just pan right behind me, you can see a multitude of residents of Magarini constituency have come in zeal and in numbers just to ensure that they're able to nominate or to able to elect their National Assembly representative. I have one of the residents here. If my cameraman can just come back a little bit, one of the residents who has already casted his vote. Maybe he'll be able to tell me his name, tell me where he comes from, and how does he feel now that they're being given an opportunity to be able to elect a member of parliament in this area, now bearing in mind that the area or the seat has remained vacant for the last 2 years. Habari ya leo dadi, karibu sana. Huku kwetu tunasema shikamo.
Marahaba.
Umeamkaje?
Uko salama.
Kaya, karibu sana. Hapa ni KBC TV, uko live moja kwa moja. Tafadhali tuweze tuambie jina lako ni nani, alafu unajisi vipi kujitokeza siku ya leo kuja kupiga kura hapa?
Askofu Emmanuel Konde, mkazi. Askofu Emmanuel Konde ni mkazi wa Mjanaheri na nimekuja kupiga kura. Kuna utulivu mzuri. Tuna imani ya kwamba hakutakuwa mtu atakayekuwa na malalamishi na kura itakuwa ya haki na hakuna matatizo yote.
Yeah. Kwa hivyo mmejiandaa, matokeo yote ambayo yatatokea nyinyi kama wakazi mtayapokea vipi?
Tuko na amani, hatuna shida. Yeah.
Na unaambiaje wale wakazi wenzako ambao bado hawajajitokeza, kwa sababu eneo hili la Magarini lina wakazi zaidi ama wapiga kura zaidi ya 1080. Unaambiaje wale ambao bado wako nyumbani hawajajitokeza kuja kupiga kura siku ya leo? Na unaambiaje umuhimu wa kuja kujitokeza siku ya leo ni gani?
Cha muhimu ni kwamba wajitokeze na wasihi, kwa sababu wakati huu kila mmoja atafuta haki yake na haki ya vijana wetu na pia maisha bora. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu wajitokeze mapema ili waje wapige, kusudi lengo letu ambalo tulikuwa tukilia, tumekuwa miaka 2 bila mbunge, ifikie tupate maendeleo.
Yeah. Baadhi ya changamoto ambazo mmepitia kama wakazi, kizingatiwa kwamba hamjakwenda kiongozi, lakini huduma nyingi mmekuwa mkizipokea kutoka eneo bunge la Malindi. Mmejihisi vipi? Hali imekuwaje kama wakazi kutafuta baadhi tu ya huduma katika ofisi ya mbunge?
Kwa kweli mtu kama amefelewa na babake huwa lazima kuna shida, na kumkosa babako ni shida. But wakati huu tuna imani ya kwamba kama tumepata mbunge wetu tutakuwa na amani, na tuna imani ya kwamba atarudi yule. Yeah.
Naam, shukran sana na uwe na siku njema. Asante sana. Yes, that's it from here from some of the residents in this area. Let's bear in mind that Magarini ward has about 80,128 registered voters as per the 2022 register, and in this constituency this seat has attracted about 10 contestants, but as of about 2 days ago, one of the aspirants decided to withdraw from the seat. Reasons best known to him, because he said that it's a more of a personal decision that made him to make such a decision. And this area, as I said, it has over 80,128 registered voters. Just to give you a breakdown of the number of registered voters in within the wards, because this constituency has 6 wards, which are Marafa, which has 9,026 registered voters. In Magarini ward, we have about 17,099 voters. In Gongoni ward, we expect the turnout to be about 17,684. In Adu ward, we have 16,263. In Garashi, we have about 10,466 voters. And in Sabaki ward, we have 9,589. And we have total of 193 polling stations within this area. And as I said, that we have about 9 contestants following the withdrawal of one of the aspirants. Just to break down quickly, or to bring you up to speed on the aspirants who avail themselves or who are vying for this electoral position. We have Harrison Kombe, who is vying for this seat under the Orange Democratic Movement ticket. And then we have Stanley Kenga, who is under the Democratic for Citizens Party, that is DCP. And then the other contestant is Furaha Chengo from the Democratic National Alliance. And we also have Jacob Themo from the Federal Party of Kenya. And he's a new entrant in this by-election or this election thing. And we have Amos Katana. This is a Gen Z, and so many people were just rallying behind him and saying that they need new energy in this area. But the voters will now decide, or that it's up to the voters now to decide on that. And then we have John Sulubu Masha. This is the one who now withdrew from contesting or from vying again from the electoral seat. And then we have Samuel Nzai, who is under the Wiper Patriotic Front. We have Sarah Wahito in the Kenya Moja movement. We have Emmanuel Kalama under the Alliance Party. That's it from here in Magarini constituency. As I said, there was a nullification of the parliamentary elections back in 2022, and the aspirant under DCP, that is Stanley Kenga, is the one who petitioned the electoral results in 2022, and the Supreme Court managed or was able to nullify the results, and a by-election was announced, and the date now, finally the date is here, and all eyes are on all the contestants, but now the race is more of, if you look closely and if you just interact with the residents around here, all eyes are on the two major contestants. That is the ODM, who is Harrison Kombe, who has already casted his vote in this area where we are at already. We tried to get a hold of him, but he was a bit in a hurry, so we couldn't manage to get him. But we are still following up on the other contestants or the other aspirants who are displaced or who are going to cast their votes in different parts of this constituency or in different wards, on different polling stations within the constituency. That's it from now up to now. That's it from me. Kasichana Masha is my name. I'll just keep you updated in any latest update that will be coming up from this area. We'll surely be able to brief you. Back to you in studio, Giverson and your fellow colleagues there. Thank you so much, and we'll make sure that we keep you updated. Thank you.
Indeed, that is Kasichana Masha bringing us up to speed with what is happening in Magarini constituency in as far as the by-elections and the voting process is concerned. Giverson.
Thank you, Mike. And now let's cross over to Western Kenya, particularly in Malava constituency. Our very own Timothy Kipnusu, I think he's on standby. And if you can hear me, Timothy Kipnusu, what's the latest from that particular area? We understand of course, the polling station have been opened. Are things very smooth? What's going on?
A very good morning to you, my colleague Giverson Minor there at the Broadcasting House in Nairobi. Yes, indeed, I'm still pitching camp in Malava constituency in Kakamega County just to get a feel of how the situation is. This is a very big day for the people of Malava. Of course, 94,417 registered voters are casting their votes to elect their new member of parliament after the demise of the late Malulu Injendi, who passed on February this year. And this is Lunyu Primary School in Manda Shivanga ward, a ward where DAP Kenya aspirant Seth Ambusini Panyako is casting his votes. And just like 40 minutes ago, Seth Panyako cast his votes, and he was accompanied by the party leader, of course, Eugene Wamalwa. Just to paint a picture of how the situation is, and we've managed to have a live coverage earlier on, and he has raised concern that his life is in danger. There was an assassination attempt. Maybe he can bring us up to speed on the situation, how it was. Perhaps, Mheshimiwa Panyako, first of all, you have casted your vote here in Lunyu Primary School. Before we just go to the issue about your life being in danger, you've raised a concern about the polling center where you've cast your votes being changed. Maybe you can bring up to speed.
Well, they have told me that it's just an administrative issue, so I may not have much to say about that. It's just a small administrative issue. Maybe they have changed because of reasons known to them. Because last election I voted in stream 1. Right now I'm being told I'm voting in stream 2. And you know the register that's being used is the one that we used in 2022. Nothing has changed. The voters remain the same, streams remain the same. So to me it's fishy. How did I vote in stream 1? Now today I'm voting in stream 2. But that's not a big issue. But to me, it raises a concern that maybe the register has been tampered with. Yeah.
And the number of votes, we've not seen a long queue here. Perhaps, what, according to you, what you can gather?
Well, one of the things I have to say is that the KIMS are working. So you may probably not see long queues because people are coming in, voting and going away. And secondly, the scare that the government has caused by attempting to assassinate me has scared the entire Malava constituency. But all I have to say is that to urge the people of Malava to come out and vote in large numbers. They should not be scared because and to get this country back to the people requires only one thing. It requires the vote. It does not require us to go to the forest. Kenya is a democracy. One dictator cannot stop us from getting this country back to the people of Kenya. I am clearly annoyed, but I'm not scared. Because even those who fought for the freedom of this country did not live to see it. I could shed my tears, not because I'm scared, but I could shed my tears because I'm shedding for this country. Because we have a wrong president. I'm ashamed to call myself. If I go in international meetings and I'm asked, who is your president? The word William Ruto may not come out of my mouth because I don't think he deserves to be a president of anything. I don't think William Ruto deserves to be a president, a father, a husband, or anything. Because if you want to kill children of other people, just for an election, honestly speaking, what is an election? Let people choose whoever they want. One of my sons who was at my hotel, the son of my daughter, who calls me uncle, mpwa wangu, has disappeared. It's called Walter. We don't know where he is up to now. Just because of an election that the government has lost. Principally, it has lost. It doesn't matter the outcome. I can tell you for free, it doesn't matter the outcome. The government has lost. The people of Malava have won because they have sent a strong message. Polls are very clear, as my party leader might explain it. 58 against 38. What miracle will you do in one day? They campaigned as late as yesterday. They were at Mbeere National Polytechnic, dishing out 500 shillings to each person who entered there, blankets, mattresses, and everything. That's direct voter bribery. And the IEBC has not been able to do anything. When you ask them, they say they are orders from above. Police are handing us and protecting those who are breaking the law. So I think Africa, I speak for only Africa. Africa is not ready for democracy and Africa is not ready for independence. Look at what happened in Tanzania. That's what Ruto wants to do in Kenya. We will not allow him.
Thank you. Maybe perhaps, party leader, you talked about 10,000 ballot papers being brought in one of the polling centers. Perhaps you can substantiate.
Yes, the government candidates in Malava, in it's called Mudende, in Magarini it's called Kombe, are trailing the opposition candidates. Here in Malava, the latest poll was at 58% in favor of Seth Panyak, or the DAP candidate, and the UDA candidate was trailing at 38%. We closed our campaigns on the official day. Later, including yesterday, the women rep Kakamega, Elsie Mohanda has been dishing out beans, rice. This is relief food. And also non-food items for relief, mattresses, blankets, to try and bridge this gap. So that is one way of them trying to bridge the gap through bribery. The second tool of choice is violence. Now, in this violence, they are using goons, state-sponsored goons, to ensure that the state instigated violence. In a peaceful place like here, Lunyu, we're in the village here. Luyas are people of peace. They are called the House of Mlembe, the House of Peace. They abhor violence. Na Waluya wanaogopa damu ya binadamu. But this violence is imported to disrupt, then create a conducive environment, because it's backed by the police, for now them to introduce the ballots. Over 800,000 ballots were printed in Greece, but we do the inspection, the verification, the way it's normally done. What has this done? It's created a loophole in the serialization of these ballots. And therefore, we have extra ballots unaccounted for. Out of these, 10,000 have been brought here to try and bridge the gap between Seth Panyako and Ndakwa. In Magarini, they have taken another 10,000 to bridge the gap between Stanley Karisa Kenga and Kombe, Harrison Kombe. In Mbeere, they have taken 15,000 ballots. We are aware that these ballots are supposed to bridge the gap now between Karis, our united opposition candidate, and Mudende. Now, how do you get the ballots in? Cause violence, intimidate, suppress the voters. How best can you do that other than attacking the leader himself? You know, the audacity of them going to where our candidate is sleeping with his wife, resting, waiting to come to Lunyu this morning to cast his vote. And they have damaged everything in his hotel. They have injured his family. They have injured his staff. They have injured his drivers. All his vehicles are damaged as we speak. None of the vehicles can move. Now, that intimidation is definitely going to affect the turnout. Now, if the turnout is low, it favors them because the majority are for Seth Panyako. Then they introduce the extra ballots. So this is how this government intends to rig Malava, rig Magarini, and rig Mbeere. But all we do this morning is plead with our people. We have over 90,000 registered voters in Malava. Musiuziwe woga, tokene, tokelezea. 10,000 ballots brought from outside cannot change the will of the people of Malava. Wale wanapenda Panyako, if they come out in the numbers to vote, we'll still overwhelm them. And this is what we pray. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There you have it. Give us on Panyako has one word before we wrap up. Just a minute.
A day ago at Pulupi polling center, that area, my supporters were attacked. Their houses were damaged. Their banana plantations were cut down. And they were scared and they were told never to step in the polling center. As late as yesterday, I was trying to get them so that we see, and I assure them to come and vote. But I'm quite sure that they might not have gone to vote. Na ningependa kuambia kwamba waende wapige kura, wasiogope. Kwa sababu wakiogopa, hiyo ndio wanafanya hawa wakora. Na watu wangu Butali Chekulo, wamepikwa visu, wamevunjwa mbavu during this campaign period. I have not injured anybody in this campaign period. And I have never done it before. Thank you.
Very unfortunate turn of events. Very sorry, Mheshimiwa. There you have it. My colleague gave us a minor, just giving you up to speed on what has happened here in Lunyu, the ward where the DAP aspirant Seth Ambusini Panyako has casted his votes. And as you've heard, they have raised a number of issues, one being the assassination attempt on his life, and also the issue of suppressing voters not to turn out to vote for their favorite candidate. We'll be pitching camp going to other wards. Of course, this particular constituency has 7 wards, and as I had mentioned earlier, 94,417 registered voters are expected to cast their votes to get their new member of parliament to replace Malulu in Njende. There you, after me, back to you in studio.
Very own Timothy Kipinusu reporting live from Malava constituency, and he says, of course, things are quite smooth there, but there are, of course, a lot of allegations by the side of the opposition leaders, of course, led by Eugene Mala of DAP Kenya, and of course, Seth Panyako, that is one of the front runners, trying to capture the seat of Malava that was, of course, went vacant after the death of the former occupant. And of course, the opposition have raised a lot of very serious allegations, including assassination attempts of various leaders. These are things, of course, we cannot be able to verify as of now. But of course, they also say there are, of course, attempts to bribe the voters here and there through, buying of, identity cards. This, of course, there are, of course, a lot of enticements. Other people may say it's enticements. Other people are saying it's bribery. We don't know what, of course, the IEBC. We, of course, expect IEBC maybe to mention a thing or two concerning those lamentations by the opposition leaders. But that is what is going on. The elections seems to be quite smooth. No any incident has been reported so far in Malava constituency. Thank you so much, Kitimode Kipnusu, for that reporting. Mike, on the other side, what do you have there?
Indeed. Of course, from what we've seen, voting seems to be going smoothly in the areas that we have highlighted, and also the allegations the lamentations that have been put forward by those that have spoken, including Eugene Wamalwa. There's something. This is one of the by-elections that has attracted a lot of attention nationwide, and we shall be looking into that. I want to introduce a guest, that is Wakili Frank Nyamari, who is an advocate of the High Court, to just talk about what is happening so far, and in as far as these by-elections are concerned, and also just what do they mean, the bigger picture looking into 2027, and also the build-up towards today, the campaign, how the campaign trail has been, and the kind of machinery that has been put in place to ensure that whichever or each side drums up support for their candidate. Wakili Nyamari, karibu sana to Good Morning Kenya. And, from your very own perspective, Wakili, and given the kind of attention this by-election has attracted, what do you think it means for the country?
Mike, thank you for inviting me once again. These by-elections are a learning lesson to the parties involved. First of all, they are a learning or a test to the IEBC in terms of the commissioners who came on the other day into office. And secondly, they actually depict the kind of temperatures that the country is likely to expect or experience in the elections to come, given that now we are going to see two very prominent personalities in terms of our President, Dr. William Ruto. We are going to see his prowess in terms of politics. We have known him as a genius in politics. And we are also going to see the stamina of former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. And that is what is shaping up the country as far as the elections are concerned. And in Kasipul specifically, we are also going to see how the ODM party is going to maintain its stature in the region, and also going forward, what they are going to bring on the table as far as that politics is concerned, given that they lost that seat due to the demise of the area MP, Ongondowere, and also in is it Kamarini? Magarini. Yes. In Magarini, where the ODM candidate was the election was the petition was put in the law courts, and the election was nullified. We are also going to see how the ODM party, which has actually been the biggest party in the country, how is going to manage that election and ensure that that seat is taken back to them. Mm-hmm. And so whatever we are seeing now is going to give very key lessons as far as the electoral process is concerned, and as far as the country is going to move forward even beyond 2027. The leadership is going to shape up. Mm-hmm. The political ideologies are going to realign. The political kingpins are going to measure their strengths. and be able to look forward and to it. And I can tell you, Mike, that it is going to be an immense lesson to either party. Whoever wins, for example, in Mbeere North, will stamp the authority within the region and say, yes, I am the king here. And whoever loses, for example, in Mbeere North, is also going to learn that things have changed.
Yes.
Things have changed, and there is going to be tremendous work to be put on the table as far as 2027 is concerned. In terms of the IEBC,
yes,
the commissioners are on test. They are going to, the country is going to look at how they are going to manage these by-elections, and they are going to be faced with a lot of challenges. Of course, we've had allegations of voter stacking, voter bribery, voter all that. They are not verified, but those are things that the Commission expects. The question is, how are they going to move forward and manage an election that is transparent, simple, clear, and basically acceptable within the people, such that if that election is challenged in a court of law, the Commission is found to have performed their functions appropriately as required by the law. And therefore, it's a very interesting period to be within the country and to look at what is happening. And also to the common person,
yes,
because the common person is invited under Article 1 to choose leadership. This is an opportunity to exercise that right in terms of selecting your elected representatives. And the lesson is that from the past, we've had leaders who have been chosen, but once they land in parliament, they go a whole year without even talking. So we want to, it's going to be an opportunity for the common person to also select that leader whom they wish, they think, and so wish that can be able to perform according to their wishes.
Indeed, and also, what do you think will inform the way people will vote? What do you think will inform, regardless of the kind of campaigns that has been done in various places? From your perspective, what do you think will inform how the electorate vote?
From what has happened is that there is a lot of political influence, of course, from both sides of the political class, in terms of those who are pro-government. For example, in Mbeere North, we are very much aware that that seat was left vacant because CS Ruku was appointed, and also in Ugunja, where CS Opio Wandai was appointed, those seats were left vacant. So there is a lot of influence in terms of those key political figures who have left that vacancy,
yes,
to influence and gain those seats back. And the common person is not, I don't think there is something which is going to change other than the kind of influence that we are having, the kind of temperatures that we are having. In Mbeere North, we are going to see a push and pull between the government and the opposition. And right now, I can actually say that the opposition is Rigathi Gachagua, as far as Mbeere North is concerned. And so that is the influence that is going to, not necessarily that the ideas that those aspirants are selling to people.
Not even the issues that
not even
are
the issues
them.
that are affecting them.
Why?
But I want to say that it's going to be like, let me say, a payback thing. You know, Rigathi Gachagua wants to muscle up his energies in terms of political influence within the region, and if he maintains that, he actually maintains the entire central region. And also the president, in his UDA party, is going to, if he wins that seat, is going to also say that, yes, I'm still the king within this region. So the issues that are affecting people are not primary in these by-elections. And we can look at several of them across the country, and we can see that different factors are influencing different regions on how they will vote. And therefore, specifically, I cannot tell that there is any something, or rather something that is going to influence the voting pattern in specific polling stations, because there are an array of different factors that are affecting the outcome, or rather the voting process, or rather the voting influence within each individual constituency.
Okay, all right. Yeah. That is in order. And there's something you've raised, but we shall look at it once we come from this short break. Stay with us.
When the hills gave way in Marakwet, thousands were left with nothing. But together, we can help them rise again. Join KBC in the Restore Hope, Restore Earth campaign, Unity in Adversity. Together for Marakwet. Donate through paybill number 522533, account number 8036543, or drop foodstuffs and supplies at Marakwet County offices. Every shilling, every tree, every act of kindness counts. KBC, bringing Kenyans together.
A new era has come to KBC Channel 1 TV on your favorite gospel show, The Backyard, with me, DJ Tabs, as we introduce to you our new host, the one and only award-winning gospel artist, pioneer, Mr. Big Deal, Mr. General, the one and only.
Yes, man, I go by the name Hope Kid the General, Mr. Big Deal, new school dancehall pioneer, and I'm humbled to be your amazing host from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. each and every Saturday with DJ Tabs, the head girl, and we'll be having amazing conversation with some of the leading guest line here on this show.
Join us
each and every Saturday.
Both we come from United Kingdom.
Even you?
Yeah. Me, I come in United Kingdom slums. Listen very carefully, because this case you are going to be hanged.
Wewe ndiye nilitumia pesa sababu pesa ilikuwa na reflect jina yako.
And you say I'm calling you sugar? Look at me.
Oh yes.
I'm a perfect figure. I'm on a diet. That's all.
Yes. Con Kenyan ladies.
No. I'm more interested in, you know, the hippopotamus?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Tuulize na Kiswahili. Muulize na Kiswahili.
How can we contact young lady mheshimiwa?
Which conman? Which conman?
Yaani uko na macho ine na uoni.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. This is a special coverage of the by-election that is happening in various parts of the country. And before we went on a break, we were talking with Wakili Nyamari on what this by-election means. But I also want to introduce Wakili Gibson Gisore, who is an advocate of the High Court. Welcome to the program. I want to get a feel of your opinion on what these by-elections mean for the country. And there's something that Wakili said before you went on a break, that the things that affect the people during in the areas that voting is going on are not primary. What is driving them to cast their vote, or what will influence them to cast their votes in the way that they will, whatever the outcome of the election?
To me, thank you, Mike. To me, I think I would want to say that, as Wakili has said, the issues affecting Mwananchi are not very important in this very issue. This is a battle for the titans. And I think for the former deputy president, it's a time to prove himself that he's still the king of the mountain, and he wants to galvanize the region to the utter shaming of the current government, the sitting government. And the sitting government is also not having it. They also have come in big, they've come in all types and style. They want to actually demonstrate that he's not the king. So I think the issues affecting Mwananchi are very, very peripheral in this issue, and Mwananchi should just be fighting for themselves. Once they fight for themselves, so that they vote for a candidate who is actually endeared towards their interests. But as it stands, or what we have seen, the kind of political gimmicks happening, the kind of political outlay or outlay which is being portrayed is one which we wake up every morning, you find somebody waking up from your grandmother's house and saying that your grandmother is going to be his photo, and you are in Nairobi, you have done and rescue the situation. So some of the things which you have seen, most importantly for me is the aftermath. The aftermath of this election is going to determine how 2027 is going to look like. Most probably we are going to see some heads rolled, or if people's heads are not going to be cut off. It means not politically, literally meaning politically, not literally. We will going to have a situation whereby we are having realignments in terms of preparation for 2027. So this election is a political litmus test for both the opposition and the sitting government to actually put their house in order for 2027. Whichever way it goes, whichever side wins, then they have a game plan.
Yes.
To be able to go back to the drawing board and have a game plan for 2027.
What does it mean for IEBC as far as public trust and credibility is concerned?
IEBC, this is also their first test. This is their first exam. They can't get
Okay,
it
I'm told your microphone is having problems, but I throw the same question to you, Wakili. In terms of public trust and credibility, what does it mean for IEBC?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I said that the Ethocons Commission that came on to office the other day, this is a test for them. And I will agree 100% with Wakili that they cannot get it wrong. We have had issues of voter staffing, voter bribery, influence from whichever side. The question is, how will the IEBC handle those questions to ensure that a transparent election, a simple election, a credible election is delivered as far as these by-elections are concerned. And therefore, this is an opportunity for the Commission to be able to stand and deliver. Because if they get it wrong from the word go, it will be a very clear indication that in 2027, things will not be good. And as you look at the timelines that are remaining before we get into 2027, the time is very limited.
Yes.
The time is very limited, the resources are very limited, and so Ethocon and his colleagues must, and I want to use the word must, make things right.
Yes.
To be able to get that public confidence and be able to deliver credible elections.
Even as you respond to that, Wakili Gisore, you look at place like Magarini, the election of 2022 of Harrison Kombe was annulled, and now they are going to the polls again to elect their member of parliament. How does that shape voter trust this time?
I think it's about somebody trying to redeem themselves. I think Kombe has to prove himself that he actually legitimately won. But the bigger question is the position of ODM
in that particular election. So that is what is being put to test. And actually, the major people being put to test is not the two speakers, the speaker and the minister for mining, who are the kingpins of the region. So they have to ensure or burn the midnight oil to ensure that actually their candidate wins, because you see, for ODM also, they have a political litmus test in that this is the first election after the death of Baba. We want to see whether they can actually deliver something, or it's only Baba who could make things happen. And then secondly, it also demonstrates whether somebody is what they are sold in their region and can be able to deliver 2027. For Joe and the speaker, I think they really need to ensure that they deliver that particular seat. If they don't, then even their position in the broad-based government is also people will start looking at them like, if you could not deliver an MP and this is your region where you claim to have control, then the questions are going to be asked. And people will be like, we are not sure you are a safe pair of hands to move forward. So there's a lot at stake here for every political party. There's a lot at stake for the government. There's a lot at stake for the individual people who have to prove themselves in one way or another. So it's going to be hotly contested, and let the best man win. And again, just to say, as we have said from Mbeere North, the issues affecting the people might not be very, very critical at this stage. What there is the interest of the political parties and the individuals involved.
Yeah, the idea of making political statements through the ballot. But then again, you look at places like Mbeere North, Kasipul, Malava, Magarini. They have been very focused on, especially in terms of how the campaigns have been done there. Why do you think they are a do or the die for either sides?
Yeah, once again, as I said earlier, is that we are going to see political realignments. And now we can see that the government of the day is trying to get back, consolidate back its base, its voting blocks, in terms of inviting ODM to the broad-based government. And that is one factor that is influencing the voting in Magarini, the voting in Kasipul, and all that. And so we are also seeing the differences between the former deputy president and the current president. That fight is still on as far as Mbeere North is concerned. And so we cannot actually run away from the fact that, unfortunately, those are the things that are affecting those regions. And that is why those regions are becoming a hot seat, are becoming a decisive test for whoever wins. And as I said earlier, there are going to be tremendous lessons that are going to be learned from these 4 places. For example, in Malava, if the government of the day does not win that seat, then it will be deemed like the government has lost control as far as the western region is concerned. The same happens within Mbeere, that if the former deputy president does not regain that position, then he will be considered not as a kingpin within the region. But if he wins, he stamps authority within that region. For Magarini and Kasipul, that's purely ODM, and they are trying to be in government. There are different factions which are saying that, oh, we are in broad-based government. So they're becoming the center stage of all these by-elections by dint of realignments. And these realignments point the direction in which the country will go as far as 2027 is concerned.
Do you think having, especially in areas like the ones we've mentioned, and some of them have more than 10 actually contestants, does this hurt chances of major parties?
Not to a great deal. Yes, it does, but to a lesser extent. I think in all these elections, I'm even surprised you are saying 10 because I've not heard of the others. The people I've heard is the two major candidates, the two leading candidates from Mbeere North. I mean, Wamtenda is a very clear phenomenon. And then, of course, the other, I'm not aware of the other fellas because I've not seen them campaign or their issues are not, their campaigns have not been highlighted. So I wouldn't know what their stake or their sway in the region is. But as the situation is, I think the reporting from the ground, the clear picture we have is for the two candidates who are being campaigned for by the two opposing sides.
Yes.
That's the government side and of course the opposition side. And even the opposition candidates, I think all of them, we have seen them unionize and campaign for one person whom they have anointed that is going to be the candidate. So that being the case, I think the chances of the other candidates hurting the interest of these two are very minimal or peripheral. I think those guys should have just stand in and say we are no longer in the race. Let these two guys square it out. It's important to also mention that in Malava, it's also a very interesting scenario where we have seen even an MP's house being burned. We have seen violence being meted, and I think I saw the CS for security trying to say that because of this, the insecurity, I don't know, some politicians are working with goons, so we have to take away their security.
Yes.
So we have challenges, or we have other things cropping up in terms of the national security dynamics, which we will want to get done with so that we can be able to get to a normalized situation. Because we don't want to attach elections and violence, because those are very bad indicators, because we don't want a 207. What is clear, or what is coming out clear, is that the political space has become so heated to a level that now people have to try extra political means to actually attain these particular seats, showing that people are willing to do that which it takes to get these particular seats. But as we have already insisted or highlighted, Mwananchi needs to be very careful as they go to the ballot tomorrow. Aside from the political gimmicks and the political interests, they need to actually isolate the issues of politicians and politics, and then be able to vote for somebody who is actually yearning to bring development, who is actually going to listen to Mwananchi, who is actually having the right policies, because we have not had policies being articulated in these particular elections. So this being a midway to 2027, I know the only interest for the political parties is to actually test their powers and see whether they are strong in the regions. But what I would want to urge Mwananchi as they go to the ballot is to ensure that they isolate the issues, and this time we have a very clever voter as opposed to previous times. And it might be very shocking to even the political giants to actually be shocked that even if they win, they might win marginally, or Mwananchi might actually shock them by actually not taking their candidates. And that would be quite interesting if that happens.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, we're going to continue with this conversation and keeping you up to date with the events as they happen in various parts of the country where the by-election is ongoing. Give us on Minor, what's happening on your end?
No, thank you, Mike Migwi, from on the other side. And now on this the other side, Mike, we want to discuss something different, just to break the monotony of the by-elections today. Is going on until the evening, so we'll be having a lot of time. But right now, I want to introduce a panel to speak on matters youth. There is an ongoing intergenerational dialogue conference at the Kenya School of Government, and we want to speak about whether there is a conflict between the young and the old. Is there a disconnect between the Gen Zs and the older generation? Are we able to agree, or we can't agree on things totally? I know, I want to believe, before I introduce my panel, that this coming out of what we saw last year during the June protest, and with the country was able to note that there was some perceived disconnect between the young and the old. It looks like the older people are not giving chances to the Gen Z. That is the bigger feeling. Now, I introduce to you our panel from the farthest end, that is Stella Njiro. And Stella Njiro is a welfare representative in the Executive Committee of the Youth in Public Service Forum. Next to her is Mr. Paul Kamau. Mr. Paul Kamau is advisor to the Executive Committee of the Youth in Public Service. And close to me is Anthony Mwoki. Anthony Mwoki is programs lead in the Executive Committee of the Youth in Public Service. Welcome so much, and thank you for making time for KBC Channel 1.
Thank you.
And my question, ladies first, that is what they say. Stella, so Stella, is there a conflict between the young and old in the country?
Thank you so much, Jivason, for that question. There could be a disconnect, but ideally, the reason why we are here and the reason why we are holding the intergenerational dialogue is for us to note that we are not against each other, but we are for each other. It is experience and innovation, not experience versus innovation. Thank you.
That is a very, very good point. And I'd like him to come out to continue that discussion. These experience versus innovation or technology. But I think, to me, technology, especially in the matters of where we are, the artificial intelligence, do we need experience there?
You know, it is not to say that knowledge is reserved for the young people. It is not to say that the older generation cannot comprehend AI. And I want to ride on what she has just said. This is not a conflict per se. This is just a generational gap where we feel that the older generation, where there's a perceived that the older generation and the young generation do not read from the same script. But in this intergenerational dialogue, we are looking at it from a perspective that the young people are not a challenge to be addressed. They are a very vast reservoir of innovation, potential to be harnessed. And the older generation, they are not a stumbling block to this pursuit of innovation in the public service. They are a very big source of experience to be tapped by the young generation. That is why we are trying to bring about a level ground where the young and the old, can operate from a flat space. And by that, we are going to have a very responsive public service and a very sustainable public service. So it is not a conflict per se, just as he has said. It is a situation that needs to be addressed and addressed now for the sustainability of the public service. Yes.
Now, Moki, between the Gen Z, with the young people and the old generation, where do we meet? Where do we meet there?
Every older person has been a youth at some stage. We must acknowledge that. When you're talking about wisdom, it's not every older person who is wise.
Yeah.
Just like the way it's not every youth who is innovative, is creative. But we are looking at the percentages of the same. We're looking at percentiles. And we are acknowledging that out of experience, out of the years that our members of public have served, they have personally trained or else acquired skills, attributes and knowledge that comes just because of time, and that we must respect. And we are also acknowledging that education system has changed. The technological advancement has benefited the youth way too much. So we're looking at ways in which we can positively collaborate, we can partner, we can synergize, we can come together and nurture appropriately public service for effective and efficient public service to the members of this country. And just probably to mention, we need to acknowledge that we have in this conversation, partially because of the accountability protests that were there. So we are trying to align ourselves, and we are picking that conversation from those grounds.
And now the country, you understand, is made up of a youthful population of about 75%.
Yes.
But when it comes to public service, is that the same ratio? Stella, how should the country move forward in absorbing the future, the workforce in the public service? I think it should be 75% because this is the youth. This is what the population is like. And so the ratio, even in the public service, it should look like this. It should be 75% of young people sitting in public service. Do you agree?
I agree. Let me start by saying that I believe that the youth are the larger demographics, and there is a lot that the government can do to bring them on board in terms of the youth coming in public service. One being to have a structured pathway in terms of youth fellowships, in terms of graduate trainees, in terms of mentorships, because it is the young, the old seasoned public servants that are holding the hand of the young people in public service. So we need the mentorship, we need the graduate trainees, we need the programs that are developed specifically for the young person to know this is the entry point for me in public service, this is how I'm going to be sustained in public service, and probably this is how I can exit the public service. Yes.
Now, Kamau, do you also agree with this sentiment that the public service should be made up of 75% young people?
Of course, there should be a significant representation, not specifically 75%, but a significant representation of the public service should be the young people, because these people are the present and the future of the service. And it should be, it should be a relay where you pass the baton to the next generation. And even in future, we should also expect that this youthful generation who understand each other more and who form, the biggest percentage of the demographic, they should have an equal significant representation in the public service. I completely agree, but that is not to say that I would wish to kick out the senior generation. Right? I do not wish to kick them out. And just as I had said, the older generation is not a stumbling block to the sustainability of the service. They are a very vast source of experience, a very vast source of, that mentorship, and they should be maintained, but they should be ready to handhold the young people, and the young people should be ready to be handheld for them to pass the same to the incoming generation.
That is also correct, but the young people should be held by their hands into the future.
Yes.
But they say the young people are the leaders of today, not tomorrow. The conversation has changed. It is not like the young people are the leaders of tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes, as they say.
Yes.
Muki.
Government is very well structured, and it's not just government. We are also talking about private institutions, and while we are talking about data, you will notice it's only around 17.7% of youth who are in public service. But we also need to acknowledge that when we're talking about youth, we're talking about 0 to 34, 35, right? Yeah. So we need to acknowledge that there are youth who are still in school. We need also to be aware of that. But we're also talking about that we have only 3% of youth who are below 25 and who are in public service, for instance. Youth are the leaders of today, is true. But we need to acknowledge that we are the leaders of today because we are agile, and we are actually asking for opportunities and platforms so that we are holistically prepared through what we have as part of our conversation currently at KSG about succession planning, where we're talking about mentorship, where we're talking about training, where we're talking about appointment, and we are even looking at inclusion and youth representation, not only at employment point, but we want to be involved in leadership. We want to be involved in executive decision making, and these gaps are the ones that are making individuals feel agitated. We're not only talking about youth in public service alone. We picked that 17.7% because it's a representation of the larger population of youth that are struggling with a lot of pinpoints as we are going to explore over time. Yeah. So the conversations that we are having are to align with that we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about representation, but we are exploring avenues through which this can be done in a structured and sustainable way.
Yeah, but as young people who sit in public service, Just a simple question. Someone sitting right in the remotest parts of the country feels like a young people. When you get into public service, for example, in your own experience as a young person, how did the older people in the office treat you? Did they see you like a very inexperienced person who doesn't know nothing at all, someone who cannot say anything in that office, you cannot be allowed to participate in the decision making in the policies in the office?
Part of the conversations that we were having yesterday partially touched and greatly touched on that conversation, and the question that youth we were asking both generations were, do you feel as a youth that the elder seasoned public servants are accommodating you appropriately, and do you feel your welfare are well taken? And we also asked the seasoned public servants, do you feel like the youth are meeting the expectations that you have? And we got very interesting conversations, and the youth are feeling, while it's true you've given us an opportunity, we feel we need to be listened more. We need to have open door policies that basically and deliberately work. We want effective communication. We want to be engaged. And we are coming up with suggestions like flexible working times. But again, the experienced ones are telling us about bureaucracies, the structures, and deliberate reasons why we came up with these structures, to bring order. So we're having conversations, consensus, and we are looking at policy reforms so that gets addressed more appropriately and more sustainably. Yeah. Yes.
Let me Mike Migui on the other side. Let me, of course, drop you that conversation. Tell us more.
Yeah, of course, a lot is happening, and right about now, I want us to cross over to Banisa constituency, where our reporter Ibrahim Aden is on standby to bring up to speed with what is happening over there. Aden, if you can hear me, tell us what is happening, how the atmosphere is in as far as the election is concerned.
Thank you very much, Mike. Right now, we are at the Ribor polling station in Banisa constituency. If you look at my back at this polling station, we have over 500 registered voters. This morning, all voters have wake up very early in the morning, and you can see they are already voting. And in terms of security has been beefed along on all this constituency. Banisa constituency has got 81 police stations and 32 registered voters. And right now we have some voters who are with us and tell us the process. Tell us how hii process inaendelea namna gani? Unaitwa nani na hapa ni wapi?
Mimi naitwa Ali Hassan, hapa ni Dribor. Election inaendelea vizuri, watu wameturn up na hali inaendelea vizuri, security iko sawa na kila kitu iko sawa. Hakuna shida. Mimi nilifika hapa saa 12 mpaka saa hii, kwa sababu ya line iko mrefu, bado sijapiga kura, lakini nataraji kupiga kura anytime from now.
Nini ambao haifanyiki vizuri hapa?
Hakuna, naona kila kitu inafanyika kidogo kidogo. Asubuhi tulipata shida ya itilafu ya mitambo kidogo. Saa hii imetengenezwa na inaendelea vizuri sana.
Na unatarajia nini hapa kama mwananchi?
Natarajia mheshimiwa wangu
process inaendelea, wewe unaonaje sasa?
Process inaendelea vizuri, naona kila kitu itakuwa sawa tu. Hakuna shida tutapata.
Okay, wacha niongee pia na mwingine atuelezee vile ambao anaendelea kupiga kura. Hebu tuelezee vile process iko. Unaitwa nani na hapa police station gani?
Kuna majina yanaitwa Abdinur Mohamed. Mimi ni mkaji wa Banisa. Nimekuja hapa asubuhi na mapema masaa kama 6:00 nimekuja kupiga kura, na kura inaendelea vizuri vile unaona. Polling station hapa ni Dribor polling station, na wanafanya kazi vizuri, security wako sawa, na election process inaendelea vizuri. So tunakuja kupiga kura na wapinzani pia wako sawa, kila mtu tunakuja kupiga kura.
Ulifika hapa saa ngapi?
Nilikuja hapa 6:00.
Na vile mkuja sasa, mambo yalikuwa yanaendelea?
Mambo yanaendelea poa.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. That is the views of the electorate in this Diribor police station, and you can see people are already voting at the police station. Back to the studio, Mike.
Many thanks to you, Ibrahim Aden, telling us what is happening in Banisa constituency, where they are electing the member of parliament after the demise of their member of parliament in 2023. This is when they are going to the polls to elect their member of parliament. Give us on.
Thank you, Mike Migui, on the other side. And on this side, we're having a conversation about intergenerational dialogue conference that's ongoing at the Kenya School of Government. And the reason is, how do we bridge the issues of the young and the old, and how do we come to an agreement, and how do we work together? Kamau, of course, there's a conflict between the young and the old in as much as technology is concerned. And young people are coming with a lot of innovation into this space, and of course, even into the public service. But I understand our current public service has not been able to absorb much technology because it's still old, and maybe we will not be able to resist. I know, are there older people resisting technology in the public service, in as much as you know?
Of course, there are old people that they're not resisting per se, but they are very reluctant to adapt to the emerging modern problem-solving techniques that the young people are bringing on the table. AI, for example. There are these tools, modern-day tools like ChatGPT, which can be, some work that was traditionally done in quite some bit of time, can be done in very few hours today, including very complex elements of ICT that traditionally used to take a lot of time. The young people of the day, can be able to accomplish those tasks very fast. There is that old generation that says this speed is not, in as much as you are efficient, you might not bring out quality as they used to have. So there are indeed old and senior public officers who are reluctant to embrace this change, which is here with us. This is now not a question of when, it is already here with us. So indeed, the older generation needs to come to an understanding with the young generation that this is here with us, and this is a reality that we must live with now.
Stella, yes. Even how we communicate has changed, even in public service, even in very serious offices, we communicate via WhatsApp. This was not acceptable when WhatsApp was still new. But today, we don't write memos anymore. We don't write letters anymore. Even your boss, very serious boss maybe, where you work, communicates to the staff via WhatsApp. And that's how things are going. And it's going to be there, whether the old people like it or not. So do you think the older generation is ready for that conversation?
I believe they are ready, because I am one person who believes that if you cannot embrace the technology that is here, then we cannot really have the conversation. So the AI is here, the technology is here, the creativity of the young people is here. So it's a high time that the seasoned, public servants now agree, or the old people in public service now agree that we need to embrace it because it is here. And there is nothing we can do about it. We have to embrace it. We have to learn how to use the technology as it is. Yes.
Muki, how do we bring technology into the public service? There's a lot of bureaucracy. How do we kill this bureaucracy? And even last year, during the Gen Z protests, many people I talked to, the young people, they feel like the bureaucracy in the public service, it hampers transparency. And even how you remember during the finance bill, talks and the conversation, young people felt that there was no transparency in these conversations, and so they're like put under the table. How do we bring all this to the table so that the young people can feel they're part of the public service, they're part of the decision making, and all that?
We're talking about policy reforms. And the reason why we are having conversation on policy reforms give us on is because we want to deliberately embrace suggestions that have been shared with us. We're talking about digitalization of institutions and both national government and county government and other government institutions. It's high time for them to embrace, because digitalization is not just bringing convenience, it's also giving us an opportunity to access transparency and integrity in a good way. When we are demanding for accountability, it's based on something that you promised us. It's based on a conversation that we previously had. It's based on a document. And so we want to have conversations on digitalizing all these processes. Are we talking about procurement? Are we talking about job advertisement? Are we talking about shortlisting? Can it be done online so that we are up to date? Gone are days that you could tell us, I'll get back to you. That is not what the youth wants to hear these days. They want feedback in real time, as you know. So we are expecting you to respond to us appropriately. And one of the concerns that we were having yesterday is touching on that transparency, especially in appointment and recruitment and promotion. And they were asking, you are giving me an internship, and I work for 6 months, and you advertise for a P&P engagement, and you are not giving me an opportunity to either apply or to be shortlisted, and you have seen my competence already. And one of the experienced public servants also told us, when it comes to career, when it comes to employment, when it comes to growth, is equally very personal. So while it is personal, then can we have this transparency in how this process is done? Because one of the questions that arose that I found very interesting is that there is a mindset of, is it who you know in public service, or is it who knows you in public service for you to get an opportunity? So we feel technology in these conversations coming to mitigate that so positively. And it's high time that we embrace it. And one of the guest speakers that we invited, because we have incorporated senior government representatives, really talked very deliberate on that aspect, in a very candid way. And they were open. It's a representative from public service, and they were open for these conversations and these reforms to be suggested and to be implemented.
Yeah. Yes. And talking of things to be done online, Stella, there was introduction of e-procurement in government. Of course, there are things in court challenging these, and the whole thing together. But I think it was a good thing. Young people feel like corruption is a cancer in this country, and e-procurement was one of things. Even the donors, had given the country that particular condition, so that procurement is done electronically. These would, of course, in a very big way, wipe out corruption in the cartels in that sector, in the procurement sector. Do you think this is the reason why maybe a lot of offices in public service are avoiding e-procurement? They appear to be resisting it.
Thank you so much, Jefferson. I believe to some extent, yes. And also, I would also believe it is because probably our institutions have not done a lot of digital capacity to the order or the people in those offices. So probably embracing the e-procurement could be a challenge to them. Because, if you're having a capacity building on a certain skill or something, you need finances. Some institutions may not be in a capacity to develop or necessitate that. So I feel it's a yes and a no.
Some feel it's not necessary.
Yeah.
They can do it through paperwork.
Yes.
Come out. They can do it through paperwork. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, as Stella is giving her submission, I was just thinking about the natural nature of human beings. The natural nature of human beings is that human beings are hibernating animals. To them, to a human being across board, not only in the public service, change is scary. People do not know what sits at the other side of the change. So I believe this reluctance, and I don't think there is a reluctance to transit into e-government procurement. It's only that people feel that we have had this and has been working.
Yeah.
what sits at the other side of the divide. And one thing that I would want to maybe to agree with Stella and agree with Tony.
And Tony, come out. Your mic is still experiencing a lot of problems. Maybe as that is being sorted out. Muki, we have around 1 million graduates every year coming out of either TVETs, the tertiary colleges, public universities, and of course the rest of the universities. Close to 1 million young people graduating every year. How do we bring these people on board, either in public service or in private sector? How do we create opportunities for these people?
We are asking ourselves about the curriculum. And we are having conversations around, is what I'm being trained in school relevant outside here? And so part of the conversation that positively we end yesterday was also to get to reflect on the skills and the knowledge that I'm acquiring in school. We're also talking about life skills, for instance, because there is the aspect of me getting opportunities, and there is an aspect of me maintaining the opportunities that I get. But I need to reposition myself. I need to be at the most attractive point of engagement, because we're having conversations on the public service that I want. But I need also to be aware of my skills and my competence, and be deliberate to align myself in a competitive way. Because when you're talking about transparency, we also talking about my individual competencies, my capacity and capability to outshine my peer youth when these opportunities come. But also we are talking about engagement. We recently launched Nyota, for instance. It's a government initiative which is absorbing especially youth who are yet to join public service, and it's giving them skills and it's giving them opportunities for investment. But we also are having conversations on licensing or before I start a business. I'm talking about taxes. I'm talking about those government-initiated limitations and barriers that are making it difficult for that aggressive youth who want to make a living out of that. But we also having challenges with the institutions and the skills that they are giving out. Is KUSIPS engaging, for instance, is an institution like KUSIPS engaging the industrial market so that we match the skills and what is needed. Yes, studies have been done, UNESCO previously, and conversations on the same, on what is really needed at this given moment, but that conversation has so that we align our skills and our competence to the demands of the market. Yes, and we have seen TVET aggressively training us on physical and technical skills.
Stella, do you think our curriculum, the new CBC, is good for that? Is it enough? Is it good enough for that, to create, to prepare the young people to make, to act, something, or to make, to meet whatever they want to have in their lives?
Thank you so much. We are making progress when it comes to CBC. We may not be there because, again, I believe the curriculum needs a lot of...
Even to cut you short, what are young people saying about the CBC? Is it good for them?
Yes, because it brings the creativity in them. So it is something that they're embracing, but I still feel that we are still very far when it comes to proper implementation of CBC. It is a good thing, yes, but we still need a lot of financing, a lot of capacity building, because even the teachers or the lecturers that need to be training the young people on competency-based education, they need to be way versed about what CBC is all about, how it is supposed to be incorporated in the curriculum. So there is a lot that needs to be done. But I agree we are making progress.
Kamau, do you think CBC is good enough? Do you think it's going to prepare a young person to make a living?
I feel it is good enough. It is.
But even as you answer that, the older people keep telling young people, go make some self-employment.
I think that CBC handles that very well. But you remember that the first class of CBC have not entered the job market yet. So we cannot competitively assess the impact of CBC and the difference that it has from the 844 system. Just as I had said, man perceives change as scary. So the change from 844 to CBC might have been scary to some of us because we do not know what the other side holds. I think we should give it a latitude of time, allow some of these participants or these consumers of CBC to enter the job market, and by then we can be able now then to, you know, authoritatively say that CBC solved our problem, or there's need then for change again.
Yeah. So Moki, and we are bringing this conversation to an end. Unfortunately, time isn't on our end. Moki, even as we converse through these matters, are you telling the older generation the truth? Are you telling them that youth or the young people, it's a ticking time bomb? If nothing changes, it will be a problem.
We are not scaring each other. We have been candid, we've been rational, we've been diplomatic, and we've been sensitive to each other, because we don't want to also equally make them feel, you know, irrelevant, and as previously mentioned, they are not basically barriers. But we are having these conversations so that deliberately we address the key pain points that the youth are experiencing each and every day. So yes, we are having a very genuine conversation with them, and they are admitting lots of gaps that we have identified, that we are sharing with them. At the same time, again, they are also giving us an opportunity to pick things. We're talking about national ethos, principles of governance. We are also talking about encouraging each other also to embrace, you know, guidelines that are there, so that we make service delivery to humanity more practical. So true, yes, we are having very genuine conversations with leaders and with ends of departments. We have seen institutions like universities, Ebu University, Chuka University, Machakos University, Masinde Moriro, and others. We've seen professors and doctors come with the students who are already in class, and I like how the youth is really communicating to them directly. Yeah. And we are having these engagements with an intention of coming up with a communique and you know, policy reforms recommendations that we believe would be implemented across public service. That is the intention, and we want those gaps and those concerns that youth have raised before in our even previous engagement, that they really get considered, because we have to be very genuine and very sincere with each other. If these gaps are not well addressed, then people may not have any choices. Yeah. You know, they will seek other options and other alternatives. Because the current youth, we are well empowered. We've been schooled appropriately, and we have been advised that after school you give us opportunities. You know, that's why we are agitated when this is not coming. But we are also talking about our personal alignment when these opportunities come, through transparency, through accountability, through inclusion, through engagement, through you know, government has to see how best to really accommodate all of us. Yeah. Because we are here, we are not going anywhere.
Yeah. In a minute, each one of you, digital jobs. Do you think the government has put so much emphasis and investment into this space, digital jobs, to create opportunities for the young people, Stella?
The government has made progress, though we may not be there. And let me speak on digital jobs also as young people, because we need to have the capacity first, be creative, be ready to seize the opportunities that come with the platforms. Yes.
Kamau.
I think while the government is the biggest employer in the economy, the government cannot do, in as much as it has a responsibility to do a lot in terms of digital jobs, the responsibility of government is to create a conducive environment to have as many employers in this digital space as possible. It just has to create a very good environment. In terms of employment into the space, I think they do not have a lot of a responsibility. Yes.
Moki online space could be the next biggest employer in future. But in the country, we having the older generation, or some people in government seem to be, they fear that this is where the Gen Z are gonna, you know, organize their protest, and they're gonna be a danger to the government or to some quarters or to some people. How do we protect this space?
We have already, it's very evident that the online space has created opportunities for the youth, and we've seen them as brand ambassadors, we've seen them marketing, we've seen them expressing, and even others are teaching others on a number of few things. So what we're talking about is deliberate good willpower of the government to provide an enabling environment for even these youth that are deliberately creating employment and creating opportunities out of these technological platforms. We're talking about cybersecurity. Yes, we understand the limitations to how when we are free we can do a lot of things. But we're talking about mechanisms through which then, even as we regulate, even as we monitor, as we evaluate and we filter what comes to public, again, we don't equally, limit the possibilities of youth to maximize them. So, and we're talking about, taxes that even come to individuals who engage in this online engagement. Yeah. We're talking about even government should be deliberate. And we have seen it is really trying through, for example, Ajira. We have seen Ajira engaging people, but we're talking about is government deliberate to give the youth, the freedom to engage? Because again, freedom of communication and conversation is very true. So again, if the government is doing the right thing, it will not be afraid of giving opportunities for youth to converse and even share their discomfort. So I think it's a platform that the government should tap and learn. If there is a discomfort, they need to fix that so that this conversation does not continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my panelists. And from the farthest end is Stella Njiro. Stella Njiro is welfare representative of the Executive Committee of the Youth in Public Service Forum. And of course, thank you so much, Mr. Paul Kamau. Paul Kamau is advisor to the Executive Committee in the Youth Public Service. And of course, lastly, Anthony Mwoki. Anthony Mwoki is a programs lead, Executive Committee of the Youth in Public Service. Thank you so much for making your time for KBC Channel 1. Now I cross you over to the other discussion as we have an eye in the public, or rather in the by-elections in various parts of the country. Mike Migwi, what's going on the other side?
Yeah, a lot is going on there where these elections, or by-elections, are happening. And right now, I want to go back to Mbeere North, where our reporter Ben Troy is on standby and wants to speak to JB Muturi, who is the leader of the DP and whose party candidate is also contesting in that by-election. Ben Troy, if you can hear me, what's happening over there, and let's get to hear what is going on.
Yes, thank you, Mike Migwi, back in studio. And indeed, as you've rightly put, is that I'm standing just next to former Speaker and former CSO, who happens to be the party leader of Democratic Party, and who has been drumming up support for Newton Karisho, who is the Democratic Party candidate. And initially in the morning, earlier on, we were in Evurori ward. Now we are in Ndawa ward. Actually, to be specific, we are at Kageri Primary School. And Mheshimiwa was on the other side, and now he's on this other side. Mheshimiwa, kindly, karibu sana. This is KBC Channel 1. We are live. And we were with you on the other side, and you cast your ballot, and now you are in Ndawa. Maybe kindly you could care to tell your supporters why you're here.
Thank you very much. I'm here, and specifically here at Kageri Primary School, because it's one of those large stations, and I came to just witness how the process is happening, and I must say that I am encouraged by the very, very smooth way things are moving around here. So I want to encourage many of the voters registered here at Kageri to come out and to find that the process is very smooth. Yes.
And even on the other side in Evurori, we didn't see a lot of young people, and I mean they form the biggest bulk of our voting bloc in the country. What would you want to tell them who are watching at home right now? And the lines that we are seeing, the queues that we are seeing, are not quite tight as we had seen previously in other elections.
Well, it is a generally expected, accepted practice in Kenya. What you call by-elections generally don't attract huge voter turnout, but you will see by what I've been able to pick from here is that by close of day, we will most likely have something in excess of 50% voter turnout in this particular station. And with regard to the youth, I think it's one of those natural things that happens. The elderly people have a tendency to come out early and vote. But I may wish to make an appeal to everybody who's registered here to kindly make your way to the place. The process is very fast, as I've said in the other places that I've been observing. And I'll continue to observe in many more places. So just want to make an appeal that those that have not made their way to this place, kindly make your way here and exercise your democratic rights. It's your civic duty to decide who your next member of parliament should be. Yes.
So far, from the preparations that we have seen from both IEBC and also, of course, the government beefing up security, are you satisfied with the preparations and the way the exercise is going?
So far, so good. I can't complain. And what I've noticed, particularly here, things are moving smoothly. Unless things turn out later, I must say that so far so good, and I must express satisfaction with what I've seen so far. But remember, it's only 8:30, so you never know. But we expect that things should move smoothly because there's really no reason why people should even fight or even cause commotion, because at the end of the day, it is your personal decision to vote whomever you choose to. So there should not be any reason why people should have reasons to resort to disruptions or violence or even suppressing the voter. Yeah.
And we have seen you in Vurore, now you're in Dawa, and of course we have Momenje as well. Are you planning also to go to Momenje to see exactly how the election process is going on there as well?
I intend to visit more than half of the polling stations by the end of business today.
That's more than 100. That's 134 polling stations. Half of that is about 60 something.
Yes, indeed. I intend to.
Yeah.
Right now I intend to go to quite a number of them. Yeah.
Thank you sana Mheshimiwa. Shukran sana and all the best.
Thank you.
Now, well, Mike, as you've heard, that has been the party leader of Democratic Party, and just to give you a clear picture is that he is sponsoring, together with the United Opposition, they are sponsoring the candidate Newton Karish, a popular musician, Benga musician. And one thing is that we have noted here is that the numbers are slowly but steadily increasing as we go on. And he has said, indeed, just like you have seen, the age group, mostly a lot of young people have not yet turned out, but we are hoping and hopeful that during the day they will come out in their large numbers to exercise their right. I don't know whether we can be able to find somebody who can be able to speak to us and just tell us how this exercise is going. Jambo, tuambie majina yako na tuambie wewe ni wa kutoka wodi gani na exercise yenyewe umeionaje kwa sasa?
Mimi naitwa James Kibwese kutoka area Gatito, wodi ya Dawa. Hapa hakuna shida tunaendelea hapa tunaendelea na kuchagua na kuitisha kula, lakini alafu hakuna shida iko hapa, tunaendelea mzuri tu.
Na matarajio yako ni gani baada ya mambo yote na pia baada ya uchaguzi kukamilika?
Matarajio yangu ni iwe hapa ishikuwa ati hapa kuna fuluhusu yaweza kuingia hapa, isipokuwa upore tu peke yake, tutengeneze hii kasi malishikike, alafu ndio hatuna shida na hatuna upalagano mwingine, tuende nyumbani tukiwa sawa.
Na kwa kawaida kila wakati tunaona uchaguzi, viongozi wanasema mambo mengi ambayo wataweza kuwafanyia. Swali ni je, huku Ndawa ni mambo gani ungependa kiongozi ambaye atachaguliwa leo ikikwisha aweze kuyazingatia?
Hapa tunataka kiongozi tu anaweza kutusaidia hapa, barabara hatuna, iwekwe lami, hatuna maji, hatuna stima, hata shule tunataka hata watoto wasome mzuri.
Asante sana na shukran sana kwa kuweza kuwasiliana nasi KBC moja kwa moja. Well, there you have it, guys. As you have seen, the lines and the queues slowly but steadily buffing up in numbers, and we are hoping the young generation as you have seen, I don't know whether we'll be able to have a word with the younger generation. Maybe you can tell us, utuambie majina yako na umetoka eneo gani, matarajio yako ni gani hii leo umeweza kujitokeza kupiga kura yako?
Kwa majina ni Eric Mkundi kutoka huku Kagere. Matarajio yangu kama mpigaji kura huku, mimi nakuja kuwakilisha mheshimiwa mwenye naweza nifanyia vitu za huku Mbeere kama barabara na maji na pia stima, mwenye naona anaweza niletea hizo vitu yani.
Na kwa kawaida tunaona jenzia hawajaweza kujijaza na vile wana kura nyingi. Unaweza waambia aje, kwa sababu tuko moja kwa moja, unaweza ambia aje jenzia wale ambao hawajaweza kujitokeza kupiga kura yao haswa kutoka eneo hili la Ndawa?
Mimi naweza ambia ni wajitokeze kabisa, wapige juu bado muda hujaisha. Wakuje tusimamishe mbunge mmoja mwenye anaweza tuokolea huko mbele.
Shukran sana. Thank you guys. That's there you have it in Ndawa. Remember, there's also one ward that we have not been able to visit, and that is Momenje, where musician Newton Karish hails from, and I hear that he will be casting his ballot at about midday in Karambari. And if at all we be able to get there, because it's quite a distance from where we are. And remember, the UDA candidate is also expected to be voting at about 10-11 a.m. So we will also be keeping tabs to know exactly what is going on there. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Ben Troy, who is traversing the county of Mbeere North, keeping us up to speed with how the by-election is happening in that area. Remember, this is one of the hotly contested areas of this by-election. We are going to continue with the special coverage of this by-election and the in-studio analysis of the same after we come from this short break. Stay with us.
Alisema hiyo nyungu ilala hapo siku 3.
Wewe ni ngapi umefanya na zimekuwa zikibackfire?
Tunakupenda lakini wewe utupendi.
Nenda kuitupa na huko.
Hapo ni kwenu, kuna kasi smart. Utakuja nikijisikia.
Ukosho utakuwa poa hapa.
Auntie,
nimeenda kuangalia patient fulani huko nikapatana na watu wao wakikimbia wakisema ni Juliana.
Good morning, mommy. Mommy ni nani? Get busy. Smile.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima
tunaangazia kilimo cha asili
na kisha faida zinazotokana na kilimo mjini.
Ukiangalia kama hii karatasi yangu nimeokota. Kwa hivyo nimefanya recycling. Kwa hivyo pale tu ni mchango utatafuta. Borea sisi ndio tunajitengenezea si wenyewe.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi hii saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1
kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Faith versus ambition. When do I know when I'm overstepping? When do I know when I'm going too far?
People believe so long as I prayed, God will do everything.
Yeah.
No, prayer is like a boardroom meeting with God. So the guy who is doing things without God can get results but not get peace.
Okay.
The guy who's not doing anything but believes in God will be frustrated and will actually suffer depression. Our God is faithful, our God is loving, our God wants you to succeed. But over and above, our God wants us to be productive.
speaking from the 32nd IEK convention here in Mombasa, where it's held under the theme Engineering the Future Roadmap for Kenya. Now, this gathering has brought together industry regulators, academia, engineers, as well as government officials. To energy transition, industrialization, digital procurement, and talent development. I'm Regina Manyara, and joining us this morning on Good Morning Kenya is none other than Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, who is the President-elect, the Council of Civil Engineers. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Yes.
The statistics are clear. Kenya loses a cool 600 billion due to stalled or collapsed infrastructure projects across the country. This is according to the Auditor General's office. How do we correct that?
So thank you very much for raising that matter. As engineers, it is very clear that yes, there is waste in implementation of infrastructure projects, but the responsibility of that waste does not rest with an engineer. The challenge we are having with the engineering profession, and I think also with other professionals, that the people who make decisions do not seem to appreciate professional advice. As an engineer, you will not start a project that does not have budget. But you see, the implementation of infrastructure projects in the country seems to be led by politicians. It's the politician who goes to parliament and he's been elected, and he wants to run with a project. Some of them even set aside projects that have been started by their predecessors in those positions, and they want to start their own projects. So this is what is causing a major challenge with the uncompleted projects. First, lack of budget, and then the issue of pending bills. So professionals will give the government the proper advice. From where I stand, you as a professional will not commission or even design and commission a project that you don't have a budget. Right. But politicians will push for projects to be set aside and other projects.
There are those who would argue that, seeking professional services, especially of engineers, is too expensive, the term being exorbitant. What is your take, Engineer Matalanga?
No, that is even wrong. Because unless you have a design and unless you have a specification, what capacity do you have to know that you are getting value for your money? So as point one, you need to define what you want. And it's a technical matter. And if you think that you don't want a particular engineer, there is provision in our law to get the design peer reviewed. You can even do it 2-3 times. You can even have a team of engineers to advise you. But starting something without a proper design, without a proper specification, is basically setting up yourself for failure. Or you're going to pay exorbitantly, very expensively for something that you could have gotten cheaper. And the cases are there. The pending bills are keeping piling. Some of the pending bills are not for work done. Some of these pending bills are for interests, for delayed payments, which as a common person, as a Kenyan, you cannot get any value from a pending bill because of lack of payment. Initially, you recall as engineers, we had concerns when the Nairobi Expressway was procured a bit of in a hurry, and we didn't quite understand. It was a good project, it's happening. But if I ask you, or if we asked this question to the head of the public service, the name of a registered engineer in Kenya, who can take professional responsibility for that road? From where I sit, we don't know. Because it was designed, we pushed for someone local to be involved so that we can have that transfer of technology, we can have professional responsibility taken by a professional. The supervising contractor was appointed towards the end of that project. So the concerns raised by the head of public service are actually because of lack of clear understanding of what is happening. Most of these projects are implemented and driven by non-professionals. A non-professional cannot take professional responsibility because he doesn't have capacity. Even if you want to penalize him, there's nothing you can do, because a professional like myself takes professional responsibility that if something goes wrong, then my regulator, the registration board, the Engineers Board of Kenya, is able to punish me.
Very well put there when it comes to matters that there is no value. You cannot put a value to professionalism, and the cost is too high going forward.
Because I've just explained to you that professionals are not involved in implementation of this project. So even if you want to hold him accountable, someone to take personal responsibility, for you to have a professional, you have to have that professional involved in that project. The moment you don't have a professional involved in that project, as much as you have a system to make a professional accountable, but you don't have a professional to hold accountable.
Then where does this then leave graduate engineers with the current statistics indicating that as we churn out thousands of graduate engineers, a majority of them do not end up practicing engineering?
All these children graduating from engineering schools in Kenya have the world-class engineering standard. Now we need to translate this engineering degree into a professional practice. And for us to take them through training, we need work for them. We need to mentor them. We need to create opportunities for them to get engineering jobs. The challenge again here is that the way the government procurement for infrastructure projects is done, we exclude involvement of professional local engineers. The law is very clear that there should be some minimum work that is done by locals, what's called the local content. But with a huge procurement of public-private partnership projects, many of the private partners come from outside, they're foreigners. So they come with a complete design. They don't involve local engineers in the design. Some of them, as I said earlier, they even want to carry out the construction without involvement of local engineers. So the industry, the engineering practice is suffering a lot in Kenya because we don't have opportunities to train and pass knowledge to these young engineers.
What then does this mean for graduate engineers in terms of work opportunities going forward? How then can we leverage on the advancements that we have made, including, the signing or rather being a signatory to the Washington Accord?
So the industry, the engineering practice is suffering a lot in Kenya because we don't have opportunities to train and pass knowledge to these young engineers. Students graduating from engineering schools expect to go through training. They expect to become professional engineers in 3 years. And they expect now to start giving back, practicing engineers in the country, doing work. And we don't even have enough engineers. But unfortunately, the few who are trained, we don't again have an opportunity for them to practice. So that is the main challenge, and it will continue happening unless we change and recognize that we need to appreciate local involvement of engineers in all government projects. Government is the main infrastructure employer, and if government is not giving an opportunity to the young people to practice, then we have big loss. When I finished from an engineering school, we didn't have to look for a job. In my time, we knew that the government was going to employ you.
We are engineering for the future, and the young engineers are not in this particular matrix. Where does that leave us?
As I said earlier, the solution does not rest a lot with engineers, because engineers are ready to go if they are given a chance.
So government is pushing for digital procurement and digital engineering services. How will this particular move shift to improve transparency, efficiency, and
It's a very good thing. We're just worried that will it work? And who will be with the key to interfere with the system? Because you realize in Kenya, we have a system where it is very hard to deal with the police. If you have a traffic accident, you really have to struggle to pay the fine. So if that system was digitized, it will be easier and make all of us, you acknowledge your offense, pay and go. So why is it not working? So as much as we appreciate and support the digitization of government services, could be the worrying from other sectors is because it has not been clearly explained, and who is going to have the master key of the system? Where is that scrutiny going to come from? Where is the check system? Where is the local person going to get the confidence that, yes, it went in, the system has been free and fair? Where are we going to get the visibility of what is happening? I think that's why we need the government to explain to all of us so that it is very clear. And if it is explained, all of us should embrace that system.
What I'm hearing, Engineer Matalanga, is that you're not entirely opposed, to this digital shift, but other questioning on exactly accountability, who is going to be running the show.
It's very clear. The e-citizen, we have a single 222 number where we all pay taxes. But some people come and say, oh, money went, no one can see. The Eurobond was sold. We don't know where the money went for. So that is the thing that is causing a bit of reluctance in the embracing of the digital procurement. Otherwise, we, from engineering point of view, it's a very good thing. It will make the process faster. It will make the process more transparent. But we need to give the people this transparency. Let them see it. Let the system make it that anyone who wants to track, they can follow it, so that we are able to see that, yes, we started here. These are the people who have gotten the tender, and therefore this is even, it should even go to implementation, because it should be a full cycle, not just procurement. It should be from design, procurement, construction, and even the usage, and then how these things get terminated, the termination and the end life of the project. Yeah.
If you had an opportunity, to change the tide as where we find ourselves in, what would you do? What would you prioritize?
First, I'll verify the bills, and we know as a country we have sufficient resources if we used the taxes properly, efficiently.
So, addressing unemployment and under-reemployment of engineers, how then do we create a synergy, between government, private sector, and counties to expand opportunities for engineers?
Now we need to translate this engineering degree into a professional practice. And for us to take them through training, we need work for them. We need to mentor them. We need to create opportunities for them to get engineering jobs. The challenge, again, here is that the way the government procurement for infrastructure projects is done, we exclude involvement of professional local engineers. The law is very clear that there should be some minimum work that is done by locals, what's called the local content. But with a huge procurement of public-private partnership projects, many of the private partners come from outside, they're foreigners. So they come with a complete design. They don't involve local engineers in the design. Some of them, as I said earlier, they even want to carry out the construction without involvement of local engineers. So we, the industry, the engineering practice is suffering a lot in Kenya because we don't have opportunities to train and pass knowledge to these young engineers.
Now, it is clear that engineering is no longer just a support function. It is the centerpiece of Kenya's transformation. How do we go about it now that we find ourselves in this space?
China's population, most of it was poor. They managed to move that country out of poverty. As we speak now, there is no poor person in China in the last 40, 50 years as they have done. And what China did is that they embraced the fact that you need engineers to take the lead. The leader of China is an engineer. Many people leading China are engineers, even the cabinet. If you compare with our system, you would say the president of China is an engineer. The vice president is an engineer. The cabinet ministers are engineers. So they have given the space. And if you ask him, what do you do when you have a problem? The president of China will tell you, I employ an engineer. Or if one engineer is not enough, I employ another one. What about 10? If they are unable to do it, I get 20. If 20 cannot do it, I make it 40. So we have to embrace that for us to get solutions, we have to embrace professionalism. And it is not just about engineering. It's across all professionals, yes, including wanting to change our system, our election laws, our electoral laws, to accommodate professionals in all sectors. You realize what is hurting us a lot is that you realize that in some organizations that you are very sure, we are talking engineering now, that it's very clear that you need the leader there to be an engineer. For some reason, our politicians think, oh, that is a very senior position. It's like a management position. You don't need to be an engineer.
Now, as the president-elect of the World Council of Civil Engineers, you know, Engineer Matalanga, what do you envision for engineering in itself, especially from the local scene and also looking at Africa?
Yes. You know, infrastructure follows demand. And in Kenya, if you look at our previous studies, we have demand for good infrastructure. The president the other day just announced a list of proposed infrastructure projects to move this country forward. If that were to be implemented transparently for the country to get value for money, then the future for this country will be bright. We've also discovered, recently you heard about the gold. We as a country are able to nurture and ensure that that resource is used for the benefit of the country. Unfortunately, again, away from the professional engineer, away from the professional advice, you can see our first reaction is, oh, we need a foreigner to give him rights to come and displace people who have been living here so that they can mine. And when they mine, they're going to take away the raw mineral, process it, so we as a country shall not benefit. So we should be able to locally put a system in place to ensure that we maximize the benefit. The agricultural sector is another area where we as a country should also tap from, because we should not be selling our raw produce. We should be able to sell processed, the coffee, tea. We should be able to process and sell the finished product. But unfortunately, we tend to sell the raw product, which is then processed because we don't have our manufacturing in place, and then now they sell it back to us. Kenya should plan to be now not a net importer, but a net exporter. And we are able, I traveled to other countries, there's no difference between our level of knowledge in Kenya and the level of knowledge of other people.
Well, there you have it. We have been speaking to none other than Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, who is the President-elect, the World Council of Civil Engineers, as we continue monitoring what is happening during this 32nd IEK convention that is currently underway in Mombasa. I'm Regina Manyara. I hand you back to Broadcasting House.
You're still watching KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya's special coverage of the by-elections as they are happening in various parts of the country. And the voting is ongoing, given the kind of reports we've seen on television from our reporters. And IEBC says that any time lost at opening will be recovered at closing, and voters in the queue by 5 p.m. will be allowed to vote. So if you're out there and your constituency is doing a by-election, make sure you participate in that exercise. Now, coming back to studio, you know, a lot of things have come out during the campaigning process, and also even today and even yesterday with opposition raising allegations of rigging. And on the other hand, the IEBC says that neither of the by-elections will be rigged. I want to bring you back, Wakili, to this conversation in terms of the allegations that have been raised by members of the opposition. And given the time at which they have been raised, does that dent the confidence of IEBC in as far as this is concerned?
Mike, once again, I want to say that those are allegations. As it is, the elections will proceed. They will, a winner will be announced, and there is going to be an aftermath of what will happen after the elections. What will happen after the election is that, and the beauty with our country is that those who are aggrieved by whatever actions or decisions which have been made by the commission, as far as their opponents are concerned, are allowed to go to court and challenge. It's at that point that we will actually say that now the reputation or rather the confidence of the commission has been dented. But as it is, I want to believe that the commission has made everything possible to ensure that there is a credible election, there is a transparent election, and it will go in handy in ensuring that the concerns raised by the opposition are dealt with. As we speak, I cannot be able to conclusively or rather ascertain that those allegations have reached the commission. Because those members of the opposition are only inviting media houses and making statements. But we have not seen any concrete action being taken by those people in terms of maybe going to court to file something or register a complaint with the commission. There is no report, there is no statement from the commission.
But Wakili, you know, as much as the opposition, their concerns, if you say if there were serious concerns, we should see them actually going to court and, of course, addressing those issues there. But there's the matter of the public perception here towards the IEBC. And this is where I think it's very important that the public, or rather the public should be seeing the IEBC appearing to be on top of the game in as far as the by-election is concerned. And I feel they should be addressing these concerns. They should be having cameras ready there at the anniversary towers or wherever they are to respond to these issues.
It's like you're telling me to ask the commission to invite media houses to also make statements. What we are having is allegations. And for any prudent person who has a genuine and serious concern, should go to the commission and make a formal complaint. That has not been done. So what is happening is just what we call profiling, which is basically a small thing that does nothing to the commission. But as I said, as we speak, any reasonable Kenyan will understand that no complaint has been made, and as a result of no complaint being made, the commission's reputation remains intact. What will happen to perhaps dent that reputation or rather affect the confidence of the public is what will happen after the election itself. If somebody goes to court, files a petition challenging that election, and they actually produce that evidence to show that there was ballot paper stuffing, there was interference, there was voter bribery, all those things, then we will have a question as to what kind of a commission we have going forward in 2027. But as we speak, no complaint has been registered. It's just media houses which have been invited, and people have made statements.
People are just talking. Politically speaking, do you think maybe the opposition or whoever is lamenting is trying maybe to draw public sympathy, you know, so that when their voters are coming to vote, maybe they could vote for them?
That might be the perception, that those who are in the receiving end are trying to draw what we call sympathy votes. But I will invite them that we move out of that sympathy voting and that profiling, so that we just focus on the real issues which are affecting the people. And by so doing, we will continue, when we move out of those nitty-gritty things which don't really affect or rather assist in any way in the election, we can have a formidable opposition, an opposition which is focused, an opposition which knows that this is the day that they need to announce themselves and make statements. By so doing, the opposition will be empowered, and it will make them be ready, or rather prepare them for 2027. Yes. Because these are the kind of issues that we are going to expect in 2027. And these are the kind of issues that we have seen before. That there are statements which are being made by those who are in opposition, and in most cases, these things don't end up in court, and they don't even form the basis of their the basis of their grounds of maybe their petitions and all that. So I will be happy, from where I sit, to see an opposition which actually does things the right way. Because if you keep on profiling a commission and making statements which are not substantiated, then at the end of the day, if you lose, you go to court and the election is still upheld, then you are a liar.
Indeed. Now, let's go to another important matter and take, for instance, a constituency like Banisa constituency. Their former MP, that is Kulo Hassan, died in March 2023. So they've not had a representation since then. Now, when it comes to matters of constitution and governance, are there concerns that needs to be addressed in as far as that is concerned?
First of all, Mike, is to say that the residents of Banisa constituency have been denied their right to representation. And there are clear guidelines on what needs to be done when there is a vacancy in terms of the office of a member of parliament or a county government. There are procedures on how to actually fill that gap. But what we realize is that for quite some time, actually 2 years down the line, the constituents in Banisa constituency have not been represented in parliament. I'm even wondering how, for those 2 financial years, for example, how the CDF fund was distributed. But I want to believe that there was a CDF committee within the constituency that dealt with that. But in terms of representation in parliament, they have been denied their rights. And this is basically because we did not have a commission to run these things immediately after the election of 2022 was challenged.
Allow me to cut you short.
Yes.
We'll come back to that. I'm told we need to cross over to Kasipul, where our reporter Wycliffe Okech is on standby. Wycliffe Okech, if you can bring us up to speed with the events that have taken place so far in as far as the by-elections in that constituency is concerned.
Thank you so much, and once again we join you live from Agorosare Primary School. This is one of the 142 polling stations that are being used for this particular exercise. When we came to you live from this very station early in the morning when the polls opened. There were queues. Actually, there were long queues in the 8 polling streams that are here, but now we can see the number has dwindled. I want to know the pattern behind this and probably some of the reasons that are contributing to this. With me here are 2 gentlemen. One is the presiding officer for this particular polling station and also the MP for Homa Bay Town, that is Peter Opondo Kaluma. That is one of those observers that just assessing the role, the way this exercise is panning out. Before I go to the PO, just 1 minute. But MP, you've been in different stations and just assessing the situation. What do you observe so far?
Yeah, the turnout is still low, but this is normal for by-elections. By-elections are usually, low in terms of turnout. Right. In the morning, where we are at Agorosare, there were a bit of lines. And that is normal because this is a town polling station. Okay. They wake up in the morning so that they can go and open their shops. They can, go and begin trading. You expect the numbers to build again from around 11. Gone to 1, then from 1 to around 3, traditionally the numbers will be low. Towards the close of polling, by nature of Kenyans, the polling station will be again full. So there is no major issue. My happiness is, of course, that there is a lot of peace. You don't see jostling, you don't see milling around within the polling station or even outside of the polling station. And that is how it should be. So people are voting and going home. And I want to thank the CS in charge of internal security, Murkomen, for what he said yesterday, that now it is in the hands of the people. Peace must be there. He has brought in a good number of police officers. I want to tell the people of Kasipul, those officers are here to support the voters, to vote without any, intimidation of such a form. So let people just come out, not just in Kasipul, not just to Agoro Sare Primary School, but of course across the nation where we are having, these by-elections. Turn out and decide who is going to lead you at that level of, representation.
You're right, because yesterday when the CS for Interior was speaking to us alongside the IEBC chair, there's a particular reason they were doing that from Kasipul. It is just this place where we lost 2 people in the midst of the campaigns, and some people were regarding this place as so volatile. But then last evening when we were doing some crisscrossing, we saw the police officers just manning and instituting some roadblocks just to ensure that everything runs smoothly. You're exuding confidence that this particular exercise will roll out so smoothly until the end of the evening.
The violence which has been associated with Kasipul is imported violence. I can tell you the people of Kasipul, just as other people of Mbeere, are very peaceful people. Even the goons the CS was talking about, you remember he said they were to come from Nairobi, come from Kisumu, come from Migori, come from outside of Kasipul. Kasipul people are very peaceful people. And that is why I'm commending what the CS has done. I told, the security system, because I also serve in the National Security Committee in the National Assembly, that really let people vote and go home. Let us have enough, support from police officers. And people should know that the police officers are now agents of IEBC. They are not even with the National Police Service. They're there in terms of employment, but they're now officers of IEBC to secure that, polling is free, polling is fair, people are allowed their free choice. And that is, I think, what we encourage. I want to tell the people of Kasipul, come out and vote. The violence people are talking about, even the people will cause tensions. You'll be here the whole day. You'll not see people from Kasipul. Up to last night, I can tell you, I was being told some people are coming, goons are coming from Kibra, goons are coming from Ruaraka, goons. And if you follow me on Facebook, I went posting, what are they coming to do? They'll find no job here because we don't allow violence, particularly for the party for which I'm observing. We want people to turn out, and we know any tension would work against us in terms of suppressing the votes. So it is in our best interest, and I'm encouraging even people in the party for whom I'm, observing the elections, keep peace, go to your station, vote, go home. There will be no interferences. We have confidence in the IEBC. We have confidence in the security apparatus present in all stations, and we have no doubt that if you make it peaceful, by end of day today, Kasipul will have a leader to, represent the people.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. Asante sana. Well, that is the MP for Homa Bay Town, still in Homa Bay County, actually just exuding confidence that this exercise will pan out just so smoothly as it began in the morning. Regarding the technicalities that surround the election exercise, this is Mr. Lawi Olwa, right? Yes, this is the presiding officer for Agoro Sare Primary School polling station. That is one of the 142 polling stations being used for this exercise. If you look into the camera and just speak to our viewers right now, this exercise was kicked off, actually. It kicked off 6 a.m. on the dot. Correct. Anything you've observed so far, this is you being in charge of this particular station.
Thank you so much. So far, we've not experienced something that is really of concern. The other agents stand up in time, and we were able to open the polling station with the stakeholders within. And so far, what I would say is the queue flow is a bit fine, though as at now, we cannot say that the voter turnout is as normal. Seemingly, they trickle in one by one or two by two. That is a bit common, I think, with such activities of by-elections, because most of posts are not being contested.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so far we have not seen any problem. Yeah, the security is okay, and the voters are peaceful. Yes.
There's a voter here that I spoke to off air. Actually, he has left. He came here with a passport. He didn't have an ID. Actually, there were two. There were two brothers. One, he says that he registered with the passport and also came with that very passport for voting and was allowed a chance to vote. But the brother who registered with an ID didn't bring the ID, but brought a passport. And in that case, he wasn't allowed, given a chance. Can you clarify this? Is there something like that?
Definitely, you should cast your vote using the original identification document you used while you're registering. So if at all you did it with your ID, then passport would be relevant, because whatever is in the details is captured only on the particulars of the ID and not the passport. So when they key in the passport, the machine will not detect you because you never registered using that document.
So you are encouraging the voters to come here with the very documents that they used for registration.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what they should do, because it brings consistency, and the machine is accustomed to what you really used while registering. So any other thing is a strange thing to the machine system. So kindly, voters, just get your original documentation, original identification document you used while you're registering. That's the exact thing you should present to the poll official, so that you be verified, identified, and allowed to vote. Yes.
In some cases, we haven't observed that so far, but in some cases you find that probably the KIMS kits, they fail to identify the voters. Has that happened here?
There are many steps. That voter must be identified, if at all is a registered voter in this station. For example, Agorosare has 8 polling stations. I am in one of the 8. So suppose the voter is not identified in say, polling station 5. The machine will direct him where he's supposed to be found within the same station. So maybe he comes to polling station 5 and is a registered voter in polling station 7. The machine will tell him, kindly proceed to polling station 7 within Agorosare. So there's no such a thing as to a voter being registered and denied to vote because he cannot be identified. The machine will advise him accordingly. There are several platforms through which we can identify the voter, through fingerprinting, through keying in of ID number, and then the image of the voter must pop up so that we are able to compare the face and what the machine has. So in that case, he will be taken back to the step to proceed with the identification process. Yes.
So far we haven't had any challenges to do with the identification?
So far in my polling station, nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah, all have been identified or have been advised to proceed to the next polling station.
All right.
Yes.
Agorosare Primary School, right where we had, this is a polling station with 8 streams, like you mentioned earlier, and the total number of voters for this particular station is about, that is 3,814, am I right? And if you, going by your engagement...
I'm only aware of my polling station.
All right.
We have 636.
Oh, 636.
Yes.
Yeah, just gauging that, because we are going to the 4th hour since this exercise kicked off in the morning. What is your engagement of turnout so far? What would you say about that?
So far, the turnout as at 9:00 hours was at 17%. Yeah. So that is like 3 hours, we are at 17%. Yes.
Probably send a message to the voters that the exercise is on, and the police officers are here to give them, accord them the safety that they may be worried about.
I believe voters they should undertake their civil duty and exercise their rights. So they should just come out and vote within the time before 17:00 hours today. So that by the end of the day, he or she shall have spoken through the ballot. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is Mr. Lewis, the presiding officer in charge of the Agorosari Primary School polling station. This is a town polling station, actually just less than a kilometer from the Tarling Center, still Agorosari High School, all located within the same vicinity of Oyugis town. That is the headquarters of Kasipul constituency, where over 67,000 voters are expected actually to participate in this particular exercise to elect their next member of parliament, since, or rather 6 months later, after Charles Ongondowere, who was representing this constituency in the National Assembly, passed on in Nairobi. Well, this exercise continues. The lines when we got here in the morning were a little bit longer, but now they're coming in one by one, and that is depicting a particular pattern. Like we had the Homa Bay town MP say, this being a town polling station, the voters woke up in the morning, came to vote, and then left this polling station to go and tend to other activities. And also we expect maybe after lunch hours, there will also be an influx of voters also to participate in this particular exercise. This is a Agorosari Primary School polling station, one of the 142 stations. And from here, actually, Boyd Were, that is one of the candidates in this particular contest, will come here to cast his vote. Is the one we're waiting for. After that, we'll be able to go to other polling stations to see how this exercise is panning out. But until then, that is what we can report so far at Agorosari Primary Polling Station, that the exercise is going on so smoothly, although the turnout has dwindled, but also the security-wise, we can report that we haven't had or observed any sort of security mishap or scare, and that is down to the heavy presence of police officers, not just in the station here, but within the vicinity, to provide security and safety for those people that will be streaming here to participate in this particular exercise.
Thank you so much, Wycliffe Okech, who is reporting live from Kasipul constituency, where the voting exercise is currently ongoing. He earlier spoke to Homa Bay Town Member of Parliament, Honorable Kaluma, and one of the things he had said that about the voter turnout is that sometimes by-elections, during by-elections, a low voter turnout is witnessed. And coming back to studio to continue with the conversation surrounding this by-election, we were talking about issues to do with the allegations that were raised by the opposition with regards to the by-election. But also there's an issue here when it comes to the voter, how the voter will choose their leader. Is one of the things that we had said earlier is that it's going, what affects the Mwananchi right now may take a periphery in as far as this is concerned. But then again, when it comes to their decisions in 2027, if this is going to take a periphery, how do you see voter decisions changing in 2027?
And once again, I said that it is unfortunate that as at now, the exercise that is happening in various constituencies, as far as by-elections are concerned, the issues of Mwananchi are not primary issues. They are not being looked at. Mwananchi is actually swallowed by the political bigwigs. And that is the reason as to why we have seen that no policy at all has been sold to Mwananchi, and that is dangerous. If we continue moving in this direction come 2027, we will end up with the same problem, and there will be no solution. We will end up selecting wrong people into office. I want to respectfully urge the common person, or rather the citizens, to move out of this exercise and look at policy in itself, and then choose leaders based on that policy. But as at now, we are only being told it's only those bigwigs who are flexing their political prowess, and that's unfortunate.
Yes.
I will want to see a different exercise in 2027 where people are coming out countrywide and they're selling ideas to people, and citizens are actually selecting people based on those ideologies. We don't want to end up with issues of integrity in respect to some leaders, and we also don't want to end up with issues of tribalism. And we will want to move forward as a country by separating a clear election from violence itself.
Yes.
We will not want to see violence being the order of the day in 2027. For that to happen, we must start as early as now as a country to move in that right direction by identifying people who are integrity upright, people who have vision, people who have ideas, people who are following, let me say, the law in terms of selling their ideas by campaigns, so that we don't end up with these issues which are being said by opponents of voter bribery, ballot stuffing, and all that. We will want to see an election which is credible, which is transparent,
yes,
and more so, which is very simple, as envisioned in the Constitution. And so, going forward, or rather to answer your question, it's unfortunate that the issues affecting Mwananchi as at now are not being addressed. Right now, we are only seeing the government of the day versus the opposition, and no issue in respect of Mwananchi is being addressed. And even the interview that we have seen, where in Kasipul there's a low voter turnout, that is an indication that the country is not yet ready for an election. We need to move in a direction whereby every person realizes that right which is given to them through the Constitution to elect their representatives, and see them coming out and vote the correct person, or rather the right person in office. Yeah.
Yes, Wakili, I think I'll let you go because as you have made it understand that you have other commitment, but thank you so much for making time to come and talk about the by-election and give your views in regards to what has happened or is happening in various constituencies in the country. I'm told that Ben Chumba is on standby to bring up to speed on what is happening in the area in which, if you can hear me, Ben Chumba, if you can hear me, you can bring us up to speed with what is happening.
Good morning. We are coming to you live from an interior part of Baringo County. Actually, we are at a primary school called Kaimalel Primary School, which is located in a place called Mochongoi in Baringo South constituency. This polling station is very interesting because it has a total of 436 registered voters. And this is the polling station where UDA candidate Vincent Chemitei of UDA, who is also the front runner in this senatorial by-election, is supposed to come here and cast his vote later today. But when we got here, what we found was very unexpected and also very interesting. At 6 a.m. in the morning, IEBC officials came here and opened the polling station. But until now, this is about 9:30 in the morning, only 4 people have turned out to cast their vote. Therefore, this is the picture that we can paint here at Koimalel Primary School, being a polling station where the UDA candidate Vincent Chemitei is supposed to come and cast his vote. Maybe we can just draw you a picture of the compound at Kaimalel Primary School. The compound is almost silent. A handful of locals have passed through the gate, but none have stayed long enough to form any kind of line. On our way here, we did interact with several residents, and many told us that they have opted to go to their farms first before coming to vote. Some said the morning hours are critical for work and that they prefer to return later in the day. And whether that translates into a significant afternoon turnout is something we will be watching closely. Like I said, it is a surprising contrast given that this is the polling station where the UDA candidate is expected to vote, often locations that usually attract early queues, supporters and steady early flow of residents. But here at Kaimalel Primary, the compound is very silent. Maybe just to see if we can have a picture of inside the polling room, just to draw a picture, is that we only have officials of the IEBC seated at their desks, fully prepared, the KIMS kits active, and the ballot box sealed, marked. But the box itself tells a different story of the morning. Just a few ballot papers have been dropped in. Actually, I'm told it's only 4 people who have turned out here to cast their votes. This is a clear indication of how slow the turnout has been so far. The presiding officer has been able to confirm to us that here there have been no delays, no material shortages, and no technical challenges. Everything here was ready on time. What is only missing is the voters. In a few minutes, we will be speaking to the presiding officer just to understand the situation here. But as you can see, few residents are coming in slowly by slowly. Like I've stated earlier, this is a polling station with over 400 registered voters, but the number of people who have turned out to cast their vote is very low. Therefore, I'll be joined by the presiding officer here in a few, ili aweze pia kutueleza ni nini ambacho kinaendelea hapa katika kituo hiki cha kupigia kura, ambacho wengi wanatarajia kwamba kwa sababu hii ni ngome ama ni eneo ambalo mwaniaji wa tiketi ya chama cha UDA katika kinyang'anyiro cha useneta, wengi wanatarajia kwamba kituo hiki cha kupigia kura kina kuwa na watu wengi sana na safu ndefu, lakini kama unavyoona ni watu wachache wanajitokeza. Tunaona wapiga kura moja baada ya mwingine wanaingia hapa hivi kuweza kupiga kura. Tunaona pia maafisa wa polisi wameweza kudumisha usalama, kuhakikisha kwamba shughuli hii inaenda kama inavyotarajiwa. Tulipokuwa tunakuja katika kituo hiki cha kupigia kura, manake ilikuwa ni eneo mbali sana, tulikutana na wenyeji na tukataka kujua tu ni vipi wamepiga kura, na tulishangazwa kwani wengi walisema kwamba wao wanapendelea kupiga kura hapo baadaye, kwani kwa sasa watakwenda kwenye shamba na kufanya kazi. Manake wanasema hapa kwanza lazima wachape kazi, alafu baadaye watakuja kupiga kura. Na tumeweza pia kujua kutoka baadhi ya maeneo ya kupigia kura katika kaunti ya Baringo, inashuhudia idadi ndogo sana ya watu ambao wanajitokeza kupiga kura. Hii haijulikani ni kwa nini, lakini muda tu utasema, kwa sababu bado ni mapema na wengi labda watajitokeza hapo baadaye. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa tu tunazungumza na msimamizi wa kituo cha kupiga kura ili aweze kutueleza ni nini kinaendelea, kwa sababu inastajabisha kuona ni watu 4 tu pekee yao wamepiga kura zaidi ya masaa karibu 4 baada ya kituo cha kupigia kura kufunguliwa. Na kulingana na msimamizi wa kupiga kura katika kituo hiki, anasema kwamba kila kitu kilikuwa shwari. Zile mashine za KIMS zilikuwa tayari kufanya kazi, lakini kidogo changamoto inakuwa kwamba wapiga kura wanakuja kwa mwendo wa kobe. Ni mwendo ambao wengi wanasema kwamba hawatatarajia, ikiwa na inazingatiwa kwamba hii ni ngome ya mwaniaji wa chama cha UDA Vincent Chemitei, ambaye atakuwa anapiga kura hapa, na akifika bila shaka tutakuwa tunashuhudia yeye akipiga kura, na hapo baadaye pia tutakuwa tunazungumza naye kutaka kujua ni kauli yake ni gani kuhusiana na shughuli hii ya kupiga kura. Alafu baadaye pia tutatembea katika vituo vingine vya kupigia kura katika kaunti hii ya Baringo ili kupiga msasa tunakutaka kujua jinsi mambo ilivyo. Hapo sasa tunajiunga na msimamizi wa shughuli ya upigaji kura katika kituo hiki cha Kaimalel, shule ya Kaimalel. Mwanzo kabisa tueleze majina yako na tueleze hali ya kupiga kura kufikia sasa hiko namna gani?
Asante. Kwa majina naitwa Chebret. Kwa majina naitwa Chebret Hilary, msimamizi katika eneo hili Kaimalel Primary School. Kwa sasa tunashuhudia ile idadi ndogo kabisa ya kupiga kura. Wapiga kura watafika kwa idadi ndogo, bali bado tunangoja, tunasubiri, tunafahamishwa kwamba ni kawaida ya watu wa eneo hili wanapiga kura baada ya jioni hivi baadaye. Tumeweza kupata wachache wale wameweza kupiga kura kwa siku ya leo, wametufahamisha kwamba baadhi yao watakuwa wanafika hapo baadaye kuanzia kitu saa 8. Hivyo basi hatuna shaka, tuangoja na tunaendelea kuongoja. Kwa mpangilio wa siku ya leo tuliwezesha kuweka mikakati zote ziliweza kuwekwa na hakuna shida yoyote. Tumeweza kupata yale yote ambayo inahitajika kwa shughuli ya siku ya leo.
Labda unaweza ukadhibitisha watazamaji wetu kwamba idadi ya wapiga kura waliojiandikisha katika kituo hiki ni wangapi na tayari wangapi wamepiga kura kufikia sasa?
From the given information, we have the recording that the registered voters from this polling station will be 436, of which up to now, the number that's turned up for the process 4. So we're waiting for many to join us within that time.
Are you able to confirm that the UDA candidate, Vincent Chemitei, is going to cast his vote here?
At the moment, no, I cannot confirm because remember, I'm just an official from this polling station, and I cannot be able to tell exactly the registered voters from their identification. I'll be waiting for those who are coming, but there is from the previous voting processes, he has been registered to be voting from this polling station, so we also are waiting to see.
How are you helping those people with disability and of course the elderly in terms of voting here?
For those who are elderly and those who require assistance in terms of voting process, it will depend with the approach from this place. Some will be coming with their assistants. For those who are coming without the assistants, and then with my team, we have, for those people will be helping with my deputy PO with me. We are going to have the necessary assistance to make sure that each and every voter coming will be able to cast the vote.
Have you experienced any challenges with the KIMS kids so far?
At the moment, no. At the moment, we are faring on well. We don't have any challenge. At the moment, we're seeing that the KIMS kit and other logistic materials are working well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amekuwa ni msimamizi wa shughuli ya upigaji kura katika kituo hiki cha Kaimalel, hapo akisema kwamba kituo kenyewe kina jumla ya wapiga kura ambao wamejiandikisha hapa zaidi ya 400, lakini kufikia sasa ni takriban tu 5 ambao wamejitokeza, lakini kulingana na yeye haimpi tumbo joto, kwani hii ni kawaida. Anasema kwamba katika eneo hili watu hujitokeza baadaye baada ya kuchapa kazi na kuchapa shughuli zao. Pia amesema kwamba kwa mara nyingi yule mwaniaji wa tiketi ya chama cha UDA Vincent Chemitei amekuwa akipiga kura katika kituo hiki, na hivyo huenda basi labda akaweza pia kujitokeza na kuweza kupiga kura yake. Kwa hivyo ni taarifa ambayo tunafuatilia kwa karibu sana ili kuweza kujua mambo yanakuwa vipi katika maeneo mengine katika kaunti ya Baringo, lakini labda tu kwa kimombo nasema kwamba this Baringo has stepped into a contest that is far bigger than its 281 registered voters, because this by-election will test the strength of President William Ruto's backyard and also determine whether UDA candidate or UDA party is going to retain a seat that has been reshaped by the withdrawal of Gideon Moi. By this time tomorrow, definitely the numbers will speak and not politics. Back to you in studio.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Ben Chumba from Kaimalel Primary School, reporting live on what is happening there. Now we want to cross over to Ugunja, where the IEBC Vice Chair, that is Fahima Arafat, is speaking, and our reporter Simon Achola is on standby.
Na pia ningeomba nitoe wito kwa specific watu wa Ugunja Primary wale watu wa Ugunja primary mpaka sasa naona voter turnout iko chini kidogo, lakini nataka niwaambie ya kwamba kama tume tumehakikisha maandalizi yako sawa na usalama uko sawa, na tuko na maofisa wawili kwa kila kituo na amani iko sawa. Kwa hivyo specifically watu wa Ugunja primary mpaka sasa naona ni takriban watu kidogo tu wamejitokezea, lakini naomba ya kwamba muutoke. Na pia ningependa kuwaita especially the youth, wale ambao ni registered voters, wakuje wapige kura, na wananchi wote wa Kenya. Tumeandalia hili zoezi kuhakikisha ya kwamba uchaguzi utaendelea. Kwa hivyo upande wetu sisi tuna furaha ya kwamba kuona kila kitu iko sawa, na tunawaomba kama tume ya kwamba tuendeleze kudumisha amani na mkuje nje kwa wingi kupiga kura siku hii ya leo.
Labda kutokuwepo kwa idadi kubwa ya wapigaji kura ni concern kwa IEBC.
Sisi kama IEBC ni furaha yetu ya kwamba kila watu wakitoka kupiga kura ni vizuri, kwa sababu ya kwanza tunajua ya kwamba ukipiga kura ni haki yako na ndio unahakikisha ya kwamba umemchagua yule kiongozi unayemtaka. Pili ni kwamba hizi ni pesa za taxpayers. Tumearrange hili zoezi, na kwa hivyo ingekuwa vyema kusiwe na voter apathy. Watu watoke na wapige kura, ndio itakuwa ni the best thing to do kama wananchi, kwa sababu sote tunafahamu ya kwamba uandalizi huu haukufanywa tu hivi hivi. Kwa hivyo itakuwa ni si raha tukiona pengine maandalizi yamefanywa na pengine voters ni kidogo, lakini bado ni mapema, ni saa 3. Nina imani ya kwamba watu watatoka, isipokuwa vile nimepata fursa kusimama hapa nikiongea katika mitandao, ndio nikasema afadhali nijulishe watu hususan Ugunja primary kwamba mujitokeze tupige kura kwa wingi. Asanteni sana, mkuwe na siku njema.
That is IEBC Vice Chair Fahima Arafat speaking from Ugunja constituency, where the voting, the by-election is ongoing, and she has encouraged people to come out and participate in this exercise and vote their favorite leader. And that is in line very much. And given that the report we had earlier from Ben Chumba, from Kaimalel Primary School in Baringo, the voter turnout at that polling station is way below the expected. And according to what he had said is that people tend to take the morning hours to do their work and maybe come to vote later on. Give us on, in terms of voter turnout, and given that the vice chair of IEBC has encouraged people to come out in large numbers to vote. Is this number, from your perspective, going to increase in any way, given that this is a by-election? It's not a major election, but a by-election, from your perspective?
I think from what we've been able to see from about 6 a.m. in the morning,
yes,
when this process began, I think there are areas where the contact is so much. For example, I think in Mbeere,
yes,
I think we've been able to see some quite lengthy or rather long lines or queues of people.
Yes.
But for example, in the report by Wycliffe or Catch in Kasipul, though there is so much of a contact, the contest there is still fierce.
Yes.
But I think the number of people we've been able to see there queuing to vote,
yes,
it's so little. It's so small. And I think this points to what many people say, that people talk during the campaigns. You see a lot of people during rallies, but during the actual day of voting, people don't show up to vote.
Exactly.
And this is a problem.
And you wonder what happens, because on the ground you find even the electorate very vocal about the kind of a leader they want. But then again, when it comes to election day, things change. Our reporter, even Aden Ibrahim, who is in Banisa, reports high voter turnout in that region. Says that people have come out in large numbers to vote for their leader, the leader that they want. Of course, this coverage of this by-election will be continuing right here on KBC Channel 1, and we shall keep you updated because we have reporters in every corner of where that by-election is happening. And one of the things that also our reporter, that is Ben Troy, who is in Mbeere North, pointed out is that in terms of turnout for the younger generation in terms of voting, in the areas that he did visit, there was a little bit of a lower number of the young people who are coming out to vote. Begs the question now about their commitment to what in matters of governance and political processes, and also what they have been speaking about online. It does not match. From your perspective, what would you say goes on in such a situation?
I think it's still early, but I think our reporters on the ground should be able to pick up this conversation.
By the end of the day?
By the end of the day. And really inform Kenyans and inform us whether the young people who've been very vocal online in digital spaces about matters of governance, they want to change these and these, and they want to put in the right leaders at the end of the day. But if they don't show up to vote, this will look so bad, especially after the protest of last year, where a lot of young people, especially the Gen Z, they were lamenting and saying the government is not taking the country into the right directions, or their voices are not being heard by the government. And now today they're not coming up to vote. They're not going in to put their leaders of choice. It will look so bad on the young people. But I understand there are quite some dynamics that the young people of today who are supposed to be, voters, I understand so many of them actually are in maybe colleges as we speak, they're in universities, they're in TVETs, and they're in tertiary, all these colleges. And so they cannot be up there, up country to go and vote. But still, that is not an excuse because they knew today is a voting day. And even the young people who are in those villages, in the remote areas, they should be able to go and vote and make sure that their voices are really taken, or their voices are heard.
What about the kind of messaging? Because even you look at how the campaigns have been done, and earlier on the guest that we had here did talk about how matters to do with the issues that affect people on the ground in any of the constituencies will not take center stage, rather. What about messaging in how the youth would receive such kind of a campaign where this much of a flexing of muscles instead of focusing on matters that affect the people?
During the whole campaigns, you've not had even a single candidate telling Kenyans what they'll do if elected into office. If you go to Mbeere, it's Modende versus Karis. It's about the opposition and the government side. But these particular candidates, they're not coming to say that this is what we'll do for the young people if we elected into positions. They're not saying if elected to be a member of parliament that I'll pass this bill in parliament, I'll try to bring this policy, and ensure maybe it's favoring the young people in the country. I'll bring this bill, to ensure that maybe the taxes do not go higher. They're not saying anything of that sort. Even you go to Malava, they're not saying anything of that sort. They're only saying, oh, it's said Panyako, or it's Ndakwa, it's the perception that it's the government versus the opposition. The young people, the discussion about the young people, we're not hearing it. We're not hearing about, what the MPs, or whether if elected, these people, this is what they bring to the table to make sure that the standards of living is quite well, to make sure that the cost of living goes down. We're not hearing this conversation. I think things should change, and the youth actually should, the matters youth should take a center stage, and even the young people should be leading this conversation. Not just coming out maybe to lament and of course protest. Of course it's a right, but when it's the moment to come and make a choice between the good one or the bad one, they should show up.
Yes, it's good to participate in these political processes because
it's a democratic right.
Yes, it's your democratic right, and participating in that gives you a voice into the decisions that will be made as far as your member of parliament or your member of the county assembly is concerned, or even your senator. It's important that you participate in these processes because at the end of the day, what you raise as a resident of your respective area is supposed to be taken up by your member of parliament or your member of county assembly and presented and maybe lobbied for, so that you can get the kind of development and service that you would want as a voter. This by-election has taken quite an attention from the country, and the impact of it, or the outcome of it, will have an impact on how the politics or take the direction in which the politics of this country going forward now will turn out. And people, the voting will continue up until 5 p.m. So if you're in somewhere that is a polling station and a by-election is happening in your area, you need to come out. But I don't know if...
Mike,
yes.
I'm trying to see what the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is trying to communicate.
Yes.
Because, of course, they should be able to keep the communication up there so that Kenyans get the real picture on the ground. And 32 minutes... earlier, this is what IEBC is saying. The IEBC is saying no one is allowed to take pictures of ballot papers at polling stations. The secrecy and integrity of the individual vote must be preserved at all times. Any breach is punishable by law. And this is what we were discussing earlier, that, these allegations of bribery, that a voter is told, when you vote, take a picture so that we see you voted for this candidate, and then when you get out, we give you some money. This is what IEBC is being categorical, that taking pictures of the ballot papers is actually illegal, and it's a breach punishable by law. And IEBC continued to say all eligible voters, as captured in the 2022 certified register of voters for the respective by-election areas, will be identified using the Kenya Integral Election Management System, that is the KIMS kit. The register of voters has been displayed at each polling station, in various parts of the country. And so we've not been able to receive any incident or a complaint by reporters on the ground that the KIMS kits are not able to function. So up to this moment, I think we assume everything is running smoothly.
Indeed. It has been quite a morning. The last 4 hours we've been informing you about the by-election that is happening in various parts of the country. This is where Good Morning Kenya ends, but the analysis and coverage of the by-election continues with John Jacob Curia. My name is Mike Migwe.
And my name is Giverson Maina. Of course, the next section is to be steered by one Jacob Curia. And I expect, of course, Job Curia to answer several questions, and maybe why the president did not show up in the campaigns in these particular the by-elections. Is it a strategy? Is it a tactical decision? If here's the panels, when they come, I think I need to understand that.
Yeah, and I think as a viewer, you need to tune into KBC Channel 1, because we are giving you a comprehensive coverage of the by-election. This is where this program ends. This is Good Morning Kenya ends now. My name is Mike Migwe. Thank you for staying with us. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenya.
Wake up with Good Morning Kenya, the morning show that's got it all.
We dive deep into issues shaping our country.
Youth are a voice of a nation.
What is the next step for the young people?
Unpacking political landscape from Monday to Wednesday.
We discuss